Leah, what is going on, Leah of the Village? Um, I shot a video earlier, and unfortunately, it took extremely long for it to load up. Because I say unfortunately because I wanted to get your specific take on the video, but apparently that's gonna have to wait. But anyway, once I figure out how to watch stuff together in this forum, it's going to be a lot better, for sure. Let me just clear out a couple more things here, and then I'll be able to be completely engaged with you beautiful people. James Goins in the house. M. Winter in the house. Perkinos in the house. Zonia in the house. The house is full of admins. It's like preaching to the choir. So yeah, guys, I'm gonna try to make Firesides a twice a week thing, and obviously, we gotta, Trump and the DNC are giving us no shortage of Middle America subjects to cover, so there's that. But yeah, I'm assuming we're gonna get a bunch of angry people. Because of the last video we shot, but what can you do? I know this is the admin village thingamajig. I should check my phone. I'm gonna check my phone, big homie. I just gotta let it charge up. My phone's dying. I held out for a very, very long time, but I'm finally gonna do it. Finally gonna bite the bullet and call it good. I really need my outrage fix. Thanks for making those hot take MA vids. Yes. You know, hey, if you need the outrage, Vincent is here. I'm here for you. I'm here to provide the outrage for sure. I'm pretty sure the big homie Matthew Medea is gonna come on pretty soon here. Gershok in the house. You guys should get an actual fireplace for these streams. Yeah, the next place we have, I'm thinking about having a different studio for the Middle America show, and then for the thingamajiggy. So then I'm gonna have like some sort of fire thing on the back there, for sure. If I could repackage and sell bottled outrage or smokable outrage, I'd be rich. Yes, for sure. Yeah, when AOC, I'm not gonna get caught slipping. Yeah. I just think AOC is in a giant echo chamber, so she doesn't realize how when she speaks, she's only communicating to like a third of the country. Kellendross! What's up, Kellendross? Yeah, I mean, now keep in mind, I've been outraged over the last, couple weeks, so, it's a weird time where, like, you have people manufacturing outrage, and at the same time, you have situations that are legitimately outrageous. But the term outrageous and legitimately are all, they're all subjective terms. What does that mean? But yeah, I hear you. But this is a world we live in. But this is why, I need to maybe we can have Leah come on and justify her guy Trump. Bianca Devin, she was the one that died, right? Rodriguez. AOC is done, son. That Jamaican chick is gonna beat her. She can't pull a race card on a Jamaican girl. Oh my gosh, that's right. I forgot. There's a Jamaican lady that's running for AOC's spot.
Oh really?
Yeah. So it's one of those like, I'll see your Latina woman of color for a Jamaican. Now what are you going to do? Now it looks like you're actually going to have to run on the actual issues.
Yep.
Good night. Good night. What's up, Dirk? Dirk, no anti-vaxxers have persecuted me for vaccinating Orion yet. So, Sori did it under protest. So, I'm waiting.
For what?
The anti-vaxxers.
Oh. I know, Gershak. I just get better and better by the day.
I think that's his way of saying that you look attractive without being disrespectful to me.
No, because we put up those old pictures.
Oh, that's right. Well, he didn't say a damn thing about me being young. Gotcha. Still the same shit.
Oh, no.
Ernie, we're having a really good week, man. We're having a really good week. Don't underestimate the Libs' ability to pull a race card on literally anything at all. How in the world could they pull a race card on the Jamaican lady?
Silver.
What?
Anti-vaxxers can't oppress anyone because they died at age 7.
Oh, la ilaha illallah.
That's so terrible.
A stock for Allah. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I meant to ask you about Sori. I thought she was again it. Sori is like a soft anti-vaxxer. I think if I jumped on with her and said, "Yeah, we're not doing that shit," she'd be all about it.
Well, it's funny because I don't like the whole idea of vaccinating kids, but at the same time, I do understand that there are different strands of stuff that keep popping up because nobody's vaccinating. And anyway, I can't get that picture out of my head. Remember that one where like you see like all these people rolling up with like guns and stuff and they're gonna like break into the house and like it's a Cheeto that's like, you know that little metal thing that you slide across to lock the door, like put it down, slide it across? That was a Cheeto instead. And so it was like it like put like viruses as like all these invaders, and then the Cheeto was like essential oils. So that kind of cracked me up, and I was like, well, maybe you can see. I feel like I did really good with that thumbnail there. But anyway.
Which one? Oh, the Am I Evil?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't talk about it.
Why?
Vaccine.
What does it matter?
Vaccine conscience is not anti-vaccine. Uh-oh, I think you've got a friend in Arcana fan.
Thank you.
I think Arcana fan is helping you.
Oh, Joseph, one of your kids had a reaction, but all the other ones are good. Yeah, I mean, today when we vaccinated, I don't know if Vin told you, but when we vaccinated Orion, like the mechanism that they jab it into the kid's leg and then they I don't know if they're like pushing or what. This whole thing just fell apart. If you look, you posted on Instagram, right? If you watch, you'll see the whole thing fall apart in her hands, and it like scratched the needle across his little chubby leg.
Yeah.
I felt sad for him. I was like, poor little guy. So then they had to redo it. So he got jabbed for nothing, plus he got scratched on top of it. Yeah. He's kind of, I'm letting him sleep for a little bit, and then I'm going to go.
I was extremely upset at that. I was extremely upset at that woman. I was like, are you friggin' serious?
I try not to be, like, overly angry because it's not her fault. But at the same time, it's, like, it's frustrating for me as a parent. But, I mean, what am I going to do?
Yeah. By the way, the Middle America logo is pretty large. It's in Sori's face. Well, I think if I move, I got space here. If I move this way.
Yeah, we're both supposed to be kind of like on that spot over there.
Those of you making fun of anti-vaxxers, read up about the vaccine court, then get back to those of us who have done the actual research instead of just listening to talking heads. Well, do me a favor, Mr. Goins, and send me an email or put a link in here.
Let me me just fix it. What's this? Q.
It's
what is
one
that?
of the things on the camera.
Oh, you didn't push the... Good thing I came in.
Mailbag of
You
shells.
don't need me in here? Fine.
Not particularly.
There's so many.
Not particularly.
Somebody was like, you should do a live stream at the same time as Vin and fight for viewers.
Oh, boy.
They were so mean. Oh. Tech Sori, that's right, Zonia. At least somebody appreciates me. Sorry, my youngest developed ITP and his platelets dropped to almost nothing. He was in the hospital for 2 weeks until he healed. That's scary, Joseph. How did you know that there was something wrong? Like, was he acting different? Have you ever spoke about why you are in favor of open borders and Medicare for all? And I mean the full logistics and how it would work, not just the humanitarian aspects of it. I don't think so.
Dexy, I can tell you, Dexy, the reason I'm an open borders guy is because of the Bible. I don't think open borders, if we open the borders, that in the initial phases of it, that would be good for the U.S. I think that our taxes would increase. I think that we'd have to deploy a lot more people to help balance stuff out. But it's only because of the Bible. If it wasn't for the Bible, I wouldn't be for open borders. So there's that.
Really?
Well, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with me being an immigrant because we came in the right way. You know what I mean?
I didn't think it had anything to do with you being an immigrant.
No, it's only the Bible.
Other than that, you'd say close the borders.
Other than that, I'd be like Bernie or something like that. Yeah.
Well, what's Bernie's stance on it again?
Bernie's stance is that we can't send all these people back who've been here for years and years, but we need to put a stop to the influx, which is the moderate position on the border.
Okay.
You know, Trump is talking about sending all these people back.
Oh my gosh.
You know.
Okay, yeah, I guess I would throw in with that. I probably would think the same thing. I'd be like, well, we should have our borders closed and protected, and let a certain amount of people in.
Why stop at Medicare for all? Shouldn't we have the same health care our representatives have? Sure. I mean, I don't really care what we call it as far as Medicare for all or whatever you want to call it. My whole thing is I don't believe that people who are poor should have to ration life-saving medication or die.
Yeah.
We've got somebody who's in our village. I mean, how do I say it? But I mean, it's just another clear issue where our medical system is just completely jacked up. I'm gonna say it that way because I want to respect her privacy. But there's a lot of really evils in this world that the only barrier between a good life and death is literally a couple dollars. So. Mm-hmm. You can't have open borders and Medicare for all. Pick one. I don't understand the correlation. What would having open borders, how would that negate Medicare for all?
Bye, Marcin. What's up, Brian? Sevilla? I guess that's how you say it.
I fought for my country to get my health care. It should not be given out for free. Well, I appreciate you fighting for our country, Mr. Rodriguez, and I mean that. But what about people who are born disabled who can't fight for their country? Just throw them away?
And anyway, like, you can just raise that bar. So you fought for your country to get, so you could get healthcare. Healthcare should be something you already have. You should be getting something on top of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and again, I mean, I just want to know people's alternatives. Like, do you really believe that it's okay in our country that people are dying of diabetes because they can't afford insulin? You think that's okay?
I don't think that people think that that's okay. I
Well,
think that
some people think it's okay.
that people are dying.
Yeah. Some people are completely fine with it.
Yeah, but some people think that it's okay to be a serial killer. I mean, are there that many people?
Well,
that
I'm
think
just
it's okay
asking
that
the
people are
brother.
dying?
I'm asking the brother a question because I'm not going to assume what he thinks.
I feel like there can't be a ton of people that think it's okay to let people die.
Then why don't we have Medicare for all then?
Well, I
people are
think that,
dying every year because
I know,
they
but I
have
don't think that people are like really like thinking it through. People are like, oh no, people should have. But I don't think that people are thinking, oh, people are dying and that's okay. I mean, I hope not.
If we didn't have insurance, the market could set a fair price. Right. I mean, again, those are the discussions that we need to be having, Fajol.
Look, I forgot about this. Dexy says, Gershok official, I liked your music. It was new to me thanks to Sori and Paperweight. Remember when you used to say that?
Oh, Paperweight! Whoa, Dexy. Dexy just got leveled up with his credentials. Dexy's credentials just got leveled up hardcore.
Yep. Good
God. That was very good. After September 20th, none of this is going to matter anymore. Why is that, Teed?
Maybe it's another one of those things. Remember how they always have those things where the end of the world is going to be on whatever. Yeah, Joseph's laughing. Somebody fill us in. We're behind.
What's happening on September 20th? Oh, Area 51. Oh. His goons are going to storm Area 51. Go for it. Go for it. Y'all are crazy. You know that's something white people came up with. Brothers ain't trying to storm no federal facility. Get out of here. We wouldn't last 2 seconds.
That's idiocy.
We wouldn't last 2 seconds.
I don't think that they think it's okay to not have health care, but lots of people don't want to lift a finger. Yeah, Brian, I mean, I would think that, like, people don't want to do anything about it, but people don't want... But I don't think people are like, oh, well, people are dying because they don't have, health care. Screw them. I think there's probably, like, a small group of people that think that. But, like, a large group of people that are saying that?
I've seen it.
Well, that's I feel like that's insanity. Like,
what do you mean it's insanity? What are you talking... I'm completely confused by this.
That you would say it's good that people are dying?
Honey, we live in a country that bombs. We authorized 26,000 drones. We kill 3,000 kids a day. What are you talking about? Like, we're bloody. We don't value human life in this country. Like, what are you talking about?
I just don't think that. Because, like, okay.
You've seen people see aborted children and say, oh, well, so.
Yes. But they don't say, oh, it's good we're killing babies. There's very few people
I didn't say it was
that.
good. I'm saying, well, a couple people said it's good that the woman has a choice. But you got a bunch of people that are like, well, I mean, it's personal responsibility. That's what they say. I know people in your family that would be their reaction. Believe you me.
No.
Okay.
No.
So they didn't give a damn about the kids at the border being separated from their
private.
parent. I didn't say anything. I didn't say
you
who.
Said people in my family.
You said no.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that.
Okay. Strike that from the record. This is just a strange conversation. I never authorized that. Overshadow Sean.
What?
I think he's talking about the drone strikes. What's up, MDev fan? How you doing, buddy? I think the next one is gonna have is gonna be the next Middle America has enough to piss everybody off. For sure.
Yes.
The surprise is that the aliens are in Area 61. It's a sewer. Or it's a swerve. People hate Trump, but it's funny because he's actually enforcing Obama's laws. Remember, Obama deported the most people ever, and under Obama, those cages were built. Oh, I know, Mr. Rodriguez. That's what I said in not this one, but the second most recent Middle America. I agree. It's all bullshit from both parts, both parties. Do you know much about common natural law? Yeah, I know a thing or two. The Middle America outrage. Gonna call in a minute, Vin. Gotta get PolitiFact ready. LOL. Well, you know that PolitiFact isn't canonical in this area, considering they lied about Margaret Sanger, but we'll allow it this time. The Deporter in Chief. How close on the list is Meshuggah for another reaction? They were nowhere on the map, but since it's a fireside, and usually fireside requests get prioritized, what Meshuggah song exactly are you talking about?
Jay, what is it with you and your mask? We watched a documentary last night of people in masks.
Leah, here's a witness to remind you. Trunk's a drunk uncle no one wants to take to dinner. I think Leah would be very happy to have Trump in his in his dinner thingamajiggy. Did you guys decide against reacting to more Down? No, we didn't decide against that. It's just Down are not a band that a lot of people are really requesting, to be honest with you. Wake up and smell the thrash. What are you going to wear while you Naruto run toward Area 51? I have no idea.
Don't have much charge there.
Who's on the line?
Oh, we're keeping America great in 2020.
It's Leah.
Leah of the Village, the resident Trump supporter. Damn right.
So, Leah, you haven't seen the most recent Middle America episode, but it is up. You can watch it at your convenience later on.
I was already watching it when I came into the fireside, so I saw like the first maybe 10-15 minutes of it.
I gotta tip my hat to you. Your man Trump, he's a genius. He's
a clever fellow, yeah.
He's an absolute genius. I tip my hat to the man. So talk to me. What did you want to talk about?
Well, if you want to talk Trump and all the DNC, we can do that, of course. But I did want to discuss borders with you because I saw that you said in your other video that you're an open borders guy.
I am. You sound very, very disappointed.
No, not at all.
Okay, go for it.
But I was just curious, if you're an open borders guy, do you think that the country has the right to at least screen the people that come in?
Of course. Open borders to me does not mean that it's a complete free-for-all.
Okay.
What it does mean, though, is that the arbitrary hoops that people set to who can go in the country and who can't would just be lifted. Mm-hmm. But no, I mean, if you've got a felony or the equivalent of a felony or something on your record, then I'd say, okay, well, you can't come in here. But I don't think that just because a person is from another nationality and we have some arbitrary line called a border where we tell people that they can't come, they can't freely move. I mean, you are a libertarian, aren't you? Don't you believe in ease of access and the freedom to move?
Am I? I don't know. I've never really thought about that, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, it's restricting a person's liberty to go and come as they wish. And I don't think that the analogy between one's country and one's home can really be drawn out in any consistent fashion. Most people would not co-sign having sex in the open air. Most people would say that's something for your house. And so the point is, with that analogy, is that to make a correlation between would you let anybody into your home and would you let anybody into your country, I think are completely different. There are house rules that only apply to this particular home that do not apply out in the rest of the country. And so that's my position.
Okay. Well, it's not bad. It's not terrible. I think the from what I've seen from Democrats lately, they're going in a more of the free for all direction. It sounds like.
Well, I mean, I don't really hear. First of all, there's no candidate that explicitly has talked about open borders. Open borders is almost as triggering as the term socialist. So no
Well,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
they all raised their hands when it came to the question of would they make decriminalization of entering the country illegally a thing. So they would all vote to decriminalize entering the country illegally. If it's not illegal to enter the country, then that pretty much means anyone can enter the country, doesn't it?
No, because for example, kids don't face criminal charges when their parents bring them over the border. They still get sent
Right.
back. They still get sent back, but they don't get criminalized. So all these Democrats are talking about is we're not going to criminalize it. That's not the same as saying that we have open borders.
But do you think decriminalizing it would incentivize people, more people than already come here as it is, to do so?
No, because the trek from Mexico to America, if you didn't know, is extremely dangerous. People die.
Well, I'm not talking just about Mexico. I'm talking about from all over.
Yeah, but Trump isn't worried about Russian immigrants, right? Have you ever heard Trump say anything about Russian immigrants?
No.
You ever heard him say anything about British immigrants? Have you heard him say anything about European immigrants?
I've heard him talk about terrorists being mixed in about, among the ones that are coming up from Guatemala and El Salvador and all that.
Well, Guatemala and El Salvador are not European, right?
Right, no, I understand that, but I'm talking about people from other foreign nations being included because they're seeking to exploit the same loopholes.
Well, I mean, yeah, you could say that, or you could say they're running for their lives and they're running for a better opportunity. Kind of like your forefathers did about 400 years ago, right?
Yeah, but see, that's the thing, is not everybody that comes, trying to enter the country is doing so strictly for a better life for their family.
Okay, why are these
people there are some people that are exploiting our laws for their own personal benefit, or there are some that would, I'm sure, seek to do harm to our country, and those are the people that you would probably, I would hope, would not want in the country.
Okay, the last 10 active shooters who have done harm to our country, would you agree?
The last 10? What about them?
Would you agree that the last 10 active shooters hurt our country?
Yeah, and they were all from within the country. I know where you're going with that. I get that.
How many of them were immigrants?
God, I don't remember all of them, but I'll guess that it's going to be 0.
Sadat, correct.
But see, true. Okay, I'm not even going to argue that. I'm not saying we don't have enough trouble as it is in the country with the people that are actually here, but the citizens that we have. Yes, some people are just freaking crazy, right. But we don't need to add to that. So I do think the country as a whole, we do have a right to at least decide who we let in and who we don't.
Well, I mean...
And like you said, if you have a felony, you shouldn't be able to get into the country. And I agree with that. Well, you don't want people that are coming in to do harm to the people.
Right. I think everybody's univocal. We all agree on that.
Right.
Like I said, I've got family members in alphabet groups within the government, so I'm
yeah.
with you. Like I said in the previous video about demonizing ICE officers, and these people don't even know who these people are. They don't realize that a ton of ICE officers have the last name Rodriguez and Colon and the rest of it. They have no idea what they're talking about. So I'm with you there. What I'm saying though is our president has targeted Mexicans. He's targeted people from the Americas. And he's targeted people from Islamic countries. Like, he specifically targeted those individuals. The Russians, he has no problem with Russian immigrants when the Russians have documented, even before the bullshit about the election, we have exposed numerous Russian spies in America. since the Bush administration. High profile one. Remember the redheaded girl? But he doesn't seem to have a problem with Russians coming in. I've never heard Trump say anything about European immigration. It's only Islamic people and Mexican people.
The only thing I ever remember
all of which happen to be brown.
About Russians were the diplomats, I think, that he had removed from the country.
Right. So my point is that I agree. I think nobody wants to let MS-13 in here, right? And
right.
There's a heavy MS-13 presence in New York City. So nobody wants to let those guys in here. So we're all equal on that. What I'm saying is all the crazy hoops that people think that, you just go to a little processing station and in 10 minutes you'll get naturalized. That's not how it works. People wait on these lists for years and years and years.
And see, now I have some solutions for the border, and my solutions would take care of it, damn it.
Okay, go ahead. Tell us your solution.
Well, first off, we gotta build the damn wall. Gotta finish the wall. Finish that at least just as somewhat of a deterrent to the people like the drug runners and the traffickers. Those people that are not coming here for a better life, that's a deterrent for those kind of people. Second of all, it's taking way too long to process some of these claims. I think they said the backlog was like 900,000 cases or whatever.
Yeah.
For people seeking asylum or whatever. So step 2 of my process would be all those people, all that backlog, we're gonna wipe that shit out. So all of those people that are already here, whatever, that are waiting for their cases to be adjudicated or whatever, you're good. The case is going to be decided in your favor, and you're good to stay.
Okay.
So we're going to wipe that out. Then we're going to add more judges along the freaking border so that the people that come seeking asylum can get their case hopefully adjudicated within 30 days. And they will be in holding for those 30 days until their case is decided.
Okay.
If the case is found in their favor, they get let in. If the case is not found in their favor, they get sent back.
Great.
I think that's fair.
Great, but that's not what Trump's trying to do, though. I don't know if you watched to the end of it's impossible for you to have watched to the end of the last Middle America video, but Trump...
No, I didn't see it all the way to the end.
Trump just initiated legislation that would make asylum impossible for people in Central America. Which is the entire reason he did this entire bullshit with Ilhan and the rest of them, is to distract us from it. You had no idea, right?
But I don't think he made it impossible. I know they were talking about legislation for that if you're going to seek asylum here, you have to seek asylum in the first country that you go to first.
Which logistically makes it impossible for anybody to come in. They're leaving Mexico for that reason. They're not going to seek asylum in Mexico when they're fleeing Mexico. So that makes it de facto
seek
impossible
asylum in the first country you run in. So no, you have to seek asylum in the first country that you would run into. So people from Mexico can seek asylum in the U.S. People from Guatemala, El Salvador seek asylum in whatever. I'm terrible with geography. So
yeah, go read it again. My point is that even your position is more generous than what Trump is trying to accomplish.
Well, yeah, that's just my personal solution to the issue, I think.
I don't know about your background. Do you have any background in poli-sci at all?
No, not at all.
Okay, so here
I've told you,
are a bunch of uneducated doofuses on YouTube that can come up with a workable, humane solution. How come your man Trump couldn't come up with one then?
I don't know. See, that's why I'm going to be your VP.
Yeah, he doesn't want to come up with one because his base doesn't want one, Leah.
Well, I am his base, and I do want one.
Leah, you are not his base. You are a complete outlier, and you know it.
I'm an outlier?
You are an absolute outlier of a Trump supporter. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
You are the exception. You're not the rule.
Yeah, okay. I'll give you that. If he comes to Chicago, though, you know I'm damn well going.
Well, he came to Maine, and I regret not going.
Yeah, me too.
I had other engagements at the time. But I should have went. But this was right
Oh,
before
what's more important than a fucking Trump rally? Come on now.
we were doing some abortion op or something like that. So you know how we get
Oh
down.
God.
But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I'd love to see the man talk in public. He's probably got like 58, layers of security. I'd probably get shot immediately. If
Oh my God!
if
Stop.
my cell phone went on, gun, and Death Fan would shoot me too. He'd be the one.
Oh my
God, you're
God!
terrible.
Antifa, BM fan would be too busy outside protesting with the rest of Antifa,
Yeah, right. BM Fan. Yeah, he
throwing eggs at people
eggs. Yeah,
because they're so hardcore.
Well, I don't know if you're looking at the chat, but we've got
No, I'm not. I can't see it.
people talking about digging moats and putting crocodiles in the moats and stuff for the border. Maybe some black
Oh, God.
holes.
Okay, yeah, that's a little ridiculous, but okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I hear you. I think there's some common sense kind of ideas that everybody can agree with, right? Okay, nobody wants MS-13 in here. Okay. Nobody wants kids to die. Nobody, Republican or Democrat, wants kids to die. I think we can all agree on that. And I think we
Right.
should just
Why?
go from there.
See, why are the people risking that trip and putting their lives, in danger to make the trip here? I mean, does it help? Do you think it helps that they think once they get here, they're going to be held for 20 days and they're going to be let in? Does that entice them more? Does that make that trip more attractive?
Yeah, I mean, that argument can only be made from a person who's never experienced desperation. And as a person who was born and raised in America, it's almost impossible for you to even know what desperation is. And this is a person, I'm talking to you as a person who had many trips in homeless shelters as a kid growing up.
Mm.
And even then, we were not in a live or die situation. I knew I was going to get 3 meals a day. It was winter outside in Parsippany, New Jersey. I knew I was going to have a warm place to sleep. So Americans don't have a concept of desperation. So when they make arguments like that, I get it. What I'm saying is,
but see, that's part of my solution, though. Is let's de-incentivize people from making that journey in the first place, and let's make it easier for them to do it legally. That's my whole point.
yeah, but I don't see what's different. First of all, the idea that if you decriminalize immigration, it's going to incentivize a bunch of people to come, I think comes from a position of a person that's speaking that doesn't understand desperation. These are desperate people who are willing to risk the lives of their own children to come over.
Right, but if
you're willing to risk,
if they knew that they could do it legally in 3 months, do you think they would make that trek still?
What do you mean legally in 3 months?
If somehow the legal process of, instead of waiting years, if we went by the Leo solution and it only took a few months for them to do it legally, for them to apply and be granted access or citizenship or whatever you want to call it,
and the max
into
time
the country.
The max time was 90-day wait.
If it was a 3 to 6 month wait, 3 to 6 months. If
you just said 3 months. Now it's 6
right,
months.
Well, all right, we'll stick with 3 months then. Well, if we can get it down to 3 months, if that was the case, do you think?
I agree with you. That would incentivize people to wait. But
right. So that's
decriminalizing, but that's not the same. Saying that X action would incentivize people to wait does not mean that X action incentivizes people to go. Those aren't the same thing. What I'm saying is, I'm saying is they're going to go regardless. That's what I'm saying. They're going to make the trek regardless. But if you had a situation in which but Leah, that is not what the Republicans are talking about. What they're saying is we're overburdened. We can't take all these people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? That's what they're saying. They're not saying
they've got record number of people showing up because they know they can't be held for longer than 20 days.
Well, right. My point is, they're not saying we need to find solutions to get people in here quicker. What they're saying, the actions that they're taking are solutions to keep people out. You have to agree with that. They're not trying
Yes,
to
but
come up
Trump,
with solutions to get more people in, Leah.
Trump has always said he wants people to come here. He just wants them to do it legally.
Yeah, and then he creates more roadblocks for them to get here legally, Leah.
Yeah, so
there's what you say, and then there's what you do, right?
yeah,
Okay.
true.
So if I say, oh yeah, come to America, and I make it harder to come to America than it's ever been for decades, and I try to initiate legislation that we've never had before in order to block people from coming in here, then I know what you really think, right?
That legislation is not to block people from coming in, though. That's the point. It's the asylum thing that they were talking about is because if you're truly seeking asylum, you should have to seek asylum in the first country that you go to.
Okay. Leah, have you actually read the document?
If you're seeking safety, no, I haven't read the document in full. I'm sorry.
Okay, tell me what you think the intent. What is the net result? What is the intention of that document? You think? I know you haven't. The intention read it, of the what do you? No, think, I haven't. What do you think it's trying to accomplish?
It would result in the end result would be fewer people seeking asylum here because they would be forced to seek asylum in a different country first.
Right. So that's not the action of a person that wants more people in his country, right?
No, it's not the action of somebody that wants more people in the country.
Okay. So all I'm saying is Trump can say what he wants, but his actions are indicating what he's really about. And I'm not saying he's a horrible person for that because that's what his base wants. All I'm saying is let's not pretend that this man is trying to get more people in America. He just wants it done legally. That's not the end game for him.
Yeah, I don't know that I agree with that. I do think he wants more people in the country, but I do think he wants them based more off of like a certain skill level and what they can contribute to, the country versus what they would.
He's never said that about European asylum seekers, though, has he? Or European immigrants. He's never said that, right?
Not that I can think of, no.
Okay, so he's only said it about brown people. Isn't that true?
That's a harsh way to put it, I think, but...
Is it true?
I don't know. Are people from El Salvador brown? No. Some of them are kind of dark. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm not mad at him. See, here's the thing, Leah. I'm not mad at Trump he's a politician. Politicians are going to politic, right? And he knows his base, and his base, and culture in them, they don't want immigrants in this country. And they especially don't want brown immigrants in this country. And they especially don't want poor brown immigrants in this country. They know that it's angry white men who are doing all the active shooter stuff. They're okay with that. They're not asking Trump to shut it down and come up with, direct his energies to stopping white males from doing all this active shooter stuff. But they are upset about these immigrants pouring in from the southern border. So he's going to... that's just good politicking. I'm not mad at him for that, Leah. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not upset at him for that. All I'm saying is, let's just be 100 with each other. He's not trying to get people in here legally. He's trying to pander to his base. To be honest with you, I have no idea how he actually feels about immigrants. And that's a God's honest truth. Some people are like, weren't you implying that he's racist? No, I was implying that his base is uncomfortable with brown people coming in from the border. But I don't know his personal feelings on the issue. I have no idea. I think if we had Trump on the show, he'd be like, I don't have a problem with Mexicans. They do great in my lawn. You know what I mean?
Oh,
oh my God.
He would probably say some crazy shit like that.
He really, I pretty much follow everything that he does, and I don't think I've ever really heard him mention his feelings towards Mexicans in general. Besides, I believe at one rally he did say that he loves Mexican people, he loves their spirit, and he's hired a lot for his businesses, so on and so forth. they're great
hired a
people.
lot
They
for
work
his
hard.
businesses.
No,
He's hired a lot for his businesses.
He's
Sis,
employed
how
a
is
lot.
that different from what I just said, though?
But I mean, he said they
Leah,
have great,
hold on, Leah.
They have a great spirit.
While they're cleaning his toilet, Allahu Akbar. Leah, you were hilarious.
I do what I can. I'm sorry.
Leah, I tell you what, the way you are with Trump, I wish I had a friend with you, like you. It just completely irrationally defend every evil, fucked up thing that I do.
Oh, come on.
I need a Leah in my life. What is going on?
I'm right here, you son of a bitch. Jesus Christ.
I need you to do. You're great. Okay, what else do you got, sis? Unbelievable.
Well, you want to talk Four Horsemen? You said something in your video. You said that AOC is the leader. And I was watching this body language video earlier today that was going over the little press conference that all four of them did.
Yep.
Seems that Ilhan is actually the leader of their little foursome there.
Well, she's certainly the most militant. I live around a bunch of Somalis, and those folks are they're hardened people, man. Like, she was a little girl when the whole Black Hawk Down thing happened. She was there, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, I can see her being the real leader, behind closed doors for sure.
Have you heard the story about her possibly having married her brother or something?
Yeah, I mean,
I heard when I got home today. I was like, "What the hell? Like, what does that even have to do with anything? Even if it's true."
Yeah, I mean, I don't really understand what that has to do with anything. I agree. Whether or not she married her brother is irrelevant to me.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like people saying Trump with what's her face. I don't want to disrespect her, but the porn lady. It's like, Stormy Daniels. Like, yeah. Like, I don't care. Like, what does that have to do with anything? You know what I mean? Like, I care that he supposedly threatened her, but like, I don't care. I didn't care about the Clinton thing. Like, I don't care about their sexual mores. All I care about is the legislation they're trying to pass. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. No, I hear you.
Yeah.
So, what do you think Bernie's gonna do? He's slipping, it seems.
Well, the Democratic machine is in complete shambles right now, and it's because of Trump. He has effectively destroyed them, and it's 11:30, and we got the election next year, right?
Yeah.
And they're playing these stupid games. It's unbelievable. It's a terrible moment to be a Democrat. I'm not a Democrat, but I know that my dream of open borders and Medicare for all will never be accomplished with a Trump presidency, and so it's looking a little bit dark right now, because Bernie, like I said, is the only one that's got like across the board appeal. AOC is not popular. I don't know if you got to the video yet, but
she has a 9%.
Yeah, 74%
like approval rating.
74% of people in America know who she is, and she's only got a 21% favorability rating.
Oh, 20, yeah, favorable. Okay.
She's not popular. Same thing with Ilhan. She's 53% know who she is, and she's got a 9% score. So,
yeah.
So, but now Trump has forced the Democratic Party to center those people who are completely unpopular and take attention away from Bernie, who has been saying the same thing for 40 years. And is, in my opinion, a very strong candidate that can balance both establishment and progressive Democrats in the party. But they won't let him lead the party. So I don't know what the hell the Democrats are doing, but it's not a good situation for them at all.
Yeah, I agree at the moment. We'll see what happens. Next week's going to be interesting with the whole Mueller testifying.
Yeah.
That could change the news cycle for a while if he comes out and says, certain buzzwords that Democrats want to hear.
Yeah.
CNN will be all over it.
Yeah, but again, if the Democrats are smart, they'll just ignore it because the polling that came out after the Mueller report was published, it was like 82% thought that the Mueller report was a waste of time and money and that it was a witch hunt or whatever. So,
Yeah.
like, Trump keeps turning these things around on the Democrats, and they
Well, that's why Lindsey Graham said this whole Mueller testifying is going to blow up in their faces.
Yeah, it's not good for them. Trump definitely is running the show right now, and he is using leftist assumption that he's an idiot to run all over these people. They're just assuming he's a bumbling idiot, and they're not realizing that he's extremely calculated. He's probably the most calculating president I've seen. So,
that's a good thing. I like that. I'll give him credit for that.
Yeah, I mean, there you go.
Right? Excellent.
All right, boss. Good chat.
Oh, I ain't your boss.
Let me.
We're equals in the village.
Let me know what you think of the video when you get to watch it in full.
Absolutely. I will definitely leave a comment for you.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Leah.
And before I go, I just have to say, fuck you, Adam Schiff.
There you go. Leah of the village, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Good God. What did M. Deathman say? If there's open borders, there'll be a civil uprising. From who? M. Deathman? People like you? I'd hope you wouldn't, seeing as how you claim to be a Christian. But what can you do? Hey,
my man Vin, how you doing?
What's good, Rich?
What's going on? I saw your video. I agree with you 100%. Besides the open borders.
Yeah, nobody agrees with me on the open borders thing, man.
Yeah, it hurts blacks going to the workforce.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hurts the lowest income people when they have to compete with Mexican who will take $5 an hour off the books.
Yeah.
It hurts the lowest wage earners.
I hear you. My thing is, necessity is the mother of invention, and I have full belief that we would find a way to solve that problem.
You do? I don't. I want to see it 100% employment rate. All Americans have jobs, then open up.
Well,
that's my belief.
I mean, we've never been a situation where people have had 100% employment, right?
I've seen a situation online where a guy was begging on the highway, and the guy offered him a job, $15 an hour, and he refused.
He refused.
I saw that.
He refused a $15 an hour premium?
Yeah.
Why?
He didn't want to work. He'd rather walk him up and down the highway and beg.
Yeah,
he makes more.
I'm very well acquainted with people like that. So then we would never have 100. That's my point. We would never have 100% employment rate because we've got a demographic in this country that doesn't want to work, right?
I agree.
Okay.
And I truly believe Trump loves America. I don't see him hating America.
Well, I agree.
And you were right. You were right on the point. Obama was such a apologist for America that Americans got sick of it.
Yeah.
You hit it on the button.
Yeah.
And they all think he's dumb.
Yeah.
They all think he's dumb. He's playing chess and you're playing checkers.
Yep. And they think
you hit it on the nose.
They think he's playing tic-tac-toe.
Oh.
So they're playing chess. They're playing checkers because they think he's playing tic-tac-toe, when in reality he's playing chess and making them all look stupid.
He already. I don't see any Democrat. I don't see anyone. I really don't.
You don't.
Kamala Harris, she has enough dirt on her in California with her locking up brothers. How's that going to look?
Yeah. No,
She's the most.
Yeah,
she incarcerated more brothers.
Kamala Harris was laughing about sending brothers to jail. She's proud of it. Yeah.
And Biden is floundering.
Yeah. Biden's a wreck. Kamala Harris is floundering. She's not going to get support from black people like Obama did. That's not happening again. A lot of people don't know this, but Obama severely damaged the black vote as far as Democrats are concerned because he was there for 8 years and didn't do a damn thing for us. So the black vote is not going to be automatic. So if they put Kamala Harris up there, she's going to get thrashed because we're not voting. I know a lot of like hardcore Malcolm X, Farrakhan. They're not even thinking about Kamala Harris at all.
Discount Candace Owens or Lexit.
Yeah.
Don't discount it.
Yeah, I mean,
it's real.
It's real stuff. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy. Thank you for watching the video, my guy. Really, really appreciate it. How you been?
Good. Hopefully going to see Maiden August.
Inshallah.
You should go.
I know.
We don't know how long Maiden's going to be around.
I know. I just got off with another publicist for another pretty big band. I'm trying to lock up some backstage photo pass access stuff because it's
big shot. Ooh.
It'll be the biggest band that we've covered as far as the show review goes, so I'm pretty excited.
Metallica?
Not yet, but well, I'll just say it. Korn. Pretty close.
Big shot.
Pretty close to
big
scoring
shot.
Some Korn, Alice in Chains background interview stuff. So we'll
see. Good luck, brother.
Yeah.
Nice talking to you. Later.
Much love to you. Yeah, BM fan. I thought, I heard this, it was probably from you, but the open border thing is really a libertarian issue, right? Where we're impeding somebody's liberty of movement. And I would figure all the you can't tell me what to do with my body people would be all for open borders if you were really and truly libertarian. Or if you truly believed in bodily autonomy, I thought people would be all for open borders, but I guess that's not the case. Vin, read the super chat. Hold on, Becky, give me a second. I gotta read the super chat.
And I would figure, you can't tell me what to do with my body people would be all for open borders if you were really...
I love y'all. Abortions are evil. Amen. There you go, Metalcore Mania. What's up, Becky of the Village?
Hey, I have a statement and then a question for you.
Okay.
My statement is, while Trump is doing all this craziness and watching all these people running around and having a fit, he's sitting back and he's watching them and he's laughing and he's pointing at people and decides he's going to say something else and watch the next person run around in circles. Meanwhile, the Democrats are attacking each other. I don't understand why they don't see that.
Yeah, I know.
And then, number two, when you say borders, and I didn't catch the beginning of this, but when you say open borders, you mean totally open? Or a vetting process? Or what do you mean?
No, I just mean the process for getting in here is way too crazy. Mm-hmm. Leah proposed a 90-day moratorium. To me, it should be one of those things where if I don't see anything on your record, like a felony or the equivalent thereof, you should just be able to get in here de facto. That's it. Period.
When you say a felony, you're talking about a felony in the United States?
No, I'm talking about let's say you committed a violent crime in Mexico. They've got their own, law codes. You just get our lawyers and their lawyers together and they say, okay, this is the equivalent of a felony in your country. And then when you vet them and you do the background check, you just make sure that they don't pop on one of those lists and then they're in.
Okay, so what about the ones that, like the MS-13s that are not on the list, that have been underground and they're not? I mean, how do you?
Well, what is the current law do to protect us against that? If the person has a clear background check and they apply for a work visa, they can get in here in the same situation. So that doesn't solve that problem, right?
Well, I can answer my own question and say that most people are coming up from Ecuador and Central America anyway. I think that I saw a percentage that said that.
Hold on for a second. Can you guys still hear me? Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Volume up or reposition the mic. I think I turned the mic down. I did. Hold on.
Oops.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll be able to hear me now. MDeathman is yelling at me. But, yeah, it's not that difficult to me. If they don't have anything the equivalent of a felony, then you let them in.
Okay, so right now we've got this deplorable conditions down there for people. I was wondering if it would make sense to you to just go ahead and send money down. No, the last bit of money they sent down there, what was it? 400 or 4 million? Apparently it was gone in like 2 weeks. That's how many people are down there. Is that right?
Okay. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think I saw something. So we send money down there and get those conditions back to some kind of, decent place. But getting people down there to handle this influx coming in, it takes time. Like, how are they going to get and hire all new people?
Well, the reason there's a backlog is because we're not letting them into the country.
Yeah,
right? Most of these people, huh?
People have to process that. They need more people down there.
Well, they have to. The processing time is so long because we have so many ridiculous hoops for these people to jump through. That's my point.
Oh, you got it too. We talked about this before.
Yeah.
Talking about the border.
I
think it should be.
Go ahead.
I think it should be easier to come in. I'm just not sure if I'm comfortable with, your level of easy. I mean, I don't know because I don't know the process. I don't know the laws down there.
Well, yeah, it's not an America. It's not an American ideology at all. I just got it from the Bible.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't know what. Yeah. I don't know what the rules that they have right now are, and whether they can be altered. I mean, because this stuff is law, so they have to go through Congress and all that crap.
Well, any law can be altered if we really wanted it to. Overshot of Sean. Let them in, and then what? Where do they go? Most of these people have families, Sean. Most of these people want to work, and you can kind of let that into the vetting process. What's your plan? Do you have a family? Do you have a job lined up? Yada yada yada. I mean, there's trillions of things that we can do. But that's my understanding of what the Bible says that a righteous nation would do. Go ahead, Becky.
I had somebody tell me that we need to just set them up in, either hostels or their own apartments or stuff like that. And I said, how can we do that? Maybe they do have family, maybe they don't, but a lot of them are ending up in the streets with very little resources. So, I mean, if we give them an easier way in, then we have to have some kind of resources for them to begin to live here. The cost of living is so much higher here.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, we'd have to change for sure. Here's Dexy. I'll need to educate myself further in regards to the Bible and open borders, but I'm pretty sure I won't get the same answer. Right, Dexy. Dexy, you will find whatever you're looking for. Let's say it that way. But
I get it. But we're supposed to be the melting pot, and we're supposed to take people in, and I totally get that, and I'm not against it at all.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm concerned about when you take the responsibility for letting people into your country, you have to decide if you're letting very, very poor people in, and then you're saying, okay, go fend for yourself. That doesn't work.
Well, I agree with you, but again, most of these people are connected to families that are already here, and I don't know if that's true or not, because the people that the mules are bringing in are families that are just trying to get in. They're just trying to get away from their situation. Now, I know that I've heard that family members have been kicked back Well,
to their countries they're trying to get back.
here,
But
let me read you Leah's. Part of my solution would be to have people volunteer to take in an immigrant family to help them acclimate to the culture, the language, and give them time to get situated. So
I like that.
instead of spending trillions of dollars on war and billions of dollars to Planned Parenthood, we take a chunk of money from both of those pools and incentivize families on the border to take families in, kind of like the foster care system, and get them on their feet. But this is what I said earlier to the previous caller. Necessity is the mother of invention. America is full of the most innovative, forward-thinking people, literally, that the planet Earth has ever seen. If we wanted to, we could figure this out. We could figure it out.
I understand.
If we had
just
the
said,
will,
for-
we would be able to figure it out.
Well, okay, that's kind of that's a broad statement. I mean, what's the influx of people coming in at the border? Does anybody have a number or just a estimate? You know?
I don't know. BM fan probably knows. He has all these. Things.
Well, there are. We can agree that there are a lot of people trying to get in, right? Like
there's a ton. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So I like the idea of people volunteering to take these refugees in, but I can't see how that would solve the problem because there are just so many people. There has to be something or some place where they can go to that's comfortable enough and fair enough for them, and we're taking responsibility for them. So if we're willing to do that, if we're willing to put them, millions of dollars out there to, house these people or, the ones that don't have a place to go, that's fine. But, a solution has to be made and it's going to take time.
I agree.
Because it has to go through Congress and it has to go to the president and it's going to get vetoed and it's going to be put in filibuster and all kinds of stuff.
Well,
So-
it wouldn't be if Trump initiated it because that would be from a Republican and the Democrats wouldn't stop that. But let me read this to you. This is on pbs.org. According to a new rule published in the Federal Register, asylum seekers who pass through another country first will be ineligible for asylum at the U.S. southern border. The rule, expected to go in effect on Tuesday, also applies to children who cross the border alone. As I said, we're making moves in the opposite direction. I would love for us to have discussions in the direction that you're talking about, which is let's bring these people in unless they've got a felony. How do we house them? How do we take care of them? How do we place them in the jobs? How do we make this strategic so it's a win for America and a win for our neighbors?
Right.
And Americans, I believe if Democrats and Republicans, Libertarians, everybody under the sun, if we all put our heads together, I mean, shit, if Zonia went there and thought about it for 2 or 3 days, she'd come up with some crazy innovative solutions. We can do it.
Sonia would create a anarchist society out in the middle of nowhere and bring everybody in. Sonia, I'm teasing you. You know that.
Right. Right.
No, I don't know. I don't know the solution or how to do this, but I do know that because of the, vast amount of people coming to the border, we don't have resources as of now to handle them. And now is what matters because now is where people are not getting fed properly or, right?
That's fair, but keep in mind, you live in a country where a man is facing 20 years in prison because he left water on the border.
Right. Yep.
Okay?
I agree.
That doesn't communicate. That doesn't communicate to me that we've got a humanitarian perspective on these people.
Right. Well, like you said before, you've put up your own Middle America. 2 of the videos I watched today, and you were talking about, that these, people in ICE are, good people, and they're just, basically doing their jobs and, all that stuff. And, I've seen over and over and over again people just putting them down, just like, in the war, say, during Vietnam, where, we weren't supporting our troops. We were You know, right? It's the same thing here. We've got these people down at the border trying to do the best they can with all of the obstacles that they have.
Yeah.
You know, trying to follow the rules. You know, seeing these people come in, seeing how bad they are. You know, how absolutely, you know, thirsty and you know, malnourished and kids and all this, and they're down there trying to do something, but they don't have the resources to do it. But
Yeah,
they're still taking back.
Dying of thirst is a horrible way to go. I was in a selection situation where I went a few days without being hydrated, and I'll tell you, it's a horrible experience.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah.
And when you have a country where a man is standing trial at 20 years to life. Now, look, they're not going to send that guy to jail. I don't believe he's going to get convicted because there would be a national outcry. However, the fact that it's out there and it's in the media will act as a deterrent for other people who don't have his intestinal fortitude to do the right thing for those people. And
what I don't understand is how he got away with
me
it.
off.
I don't understand why he got away with it.
What do you mean got away with it?
The one that was knocking over, you know, like they knock over the water. Oh, you're talking about the guy that actually left water.
No, I'm talking about the guy who left water, correct.
Right, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because
right. The guy
I want to know.
So what I'm saying is our country is is threatening a man with 20 years in prison because he didn't want these people to die in one of the literal top 3 worst ways possible. Crucifixion, burned at the stake are 1 and 2, and then dying of thirst is close at 3rd. I mean, it's a horrible way to die. And this is a country that we live in, and you got people on the right wing that think that that's okay. How is that okay?
No, it's not. It's not okay. And water is not. I mean, we have lots of water.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, I agree with you totally there. In fact, they could probably have wells drilled out down there.
Yeah, it's an objectively that I think we can all agree is objectively evil.
Mm-hmm.
That people
totally
do that.
I think the only thing that you and I think you're a little bit more liberal as far as, you know, just letting people in, where I want to make sure that they're vetted enough. Now, not as much as they are now, because it's taken too damn long. But, you know, I'm a little bit leery of opening the doors and saying, come on in. Because, I mean, one, you don't know who's coming in, but more than that, I'm just worried that, you know, what are we going to do with everybody? Like, what are we going to do? There's, you know, the resources down there on the border. If we can get them out of there and get them north, maybe. But
what I'm saying is, like I said, necessity is the mother of invention. If we assume that we were going to take these people in, like I said, we're the most innovative people literally that have ever walked on this planet. We would figure it out. If we had the will to, we would figure it out.
What do we do right now?
Well,
what would be your...
Right now, for me, right now, if I was president, I'd say, look, we're letting these people in. So I don't care what side you're on. These are the numbers. This is what's going to happen over the next X years. So we got X years to figure out how to make this a win for America and for our neighbors. Go. And now the entire country is working together on a solution.
But what about now? What are they doing now about all these people that are starving and stuck together and not getting what they need? You know,
that's due to our current border policy. That's for you to answer, Becky, because you that's due to the extreme vetting that's happening right now.
Well, I'm not for what they're doing now.
Well, if you're not for open borders, you got to be for some form of detention facility.
Well, yeah, there has to be some vetting. There has to be.
Okay, so if you're not for open borders, then you're going to have a detention facility, right?
Right, and that facility needs to be better.
Okay,
so what do we do now? Spend more money,
what
right?
I'm saying is I have no solution for that because I think that that's the problem. So you need to find a solution for that because you believe in that stuff. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you're saying open the borders, right? But you're still saying that they need to be vetted because you said
Yeah, but
You have to make sure they
in
don't.
my situation, we would never be in the overcrowded situation that these folks are in because it would take about 20 minutes to vet somebody.
Yeah, I know.
Are you a
But
felon?
now,
Yes or no? Okay, boom, there you go. Or you just divide people. Do you have a host family? Yes, come to this line. All right. Do you have a felony? No. Okay, go to your host family. Have a great day, and you just keep it moving. But when you have all these 58 different categories and things that people have to do, then yeah, they're going to be there for a while, and then you're going to get a bottleneck.
what do you do with the people that don't have families or a place to go? You got to put them in a line, and then what do you do with them?
I don't know. We'll solve that
Right.
problem when we get there. The fact that we went to the moon.
Yeah.
We went to the moon.
Yeah.
So if we
we're
could
so
figure out
sorry
how to
that
get to
that's-
the moon, like people say, it's not rocket science. If we could figure out how to get to the moon, we could figure this out. It's not a difficult issue. We could figure it out if we wanted to.
I guess it is that you're saying, we got to do this, and I'm getting into the nitty gritty and said, okay, I agree with you. What do we do?
Well, there's
How do we
the
get
thing.
past
As I
all
said, the
this crap?
solution is to rapidly increase the processing power of the immigration system, or again, open borders, amnesty, etc. Get everyone into the system, give them social security numbers, tax them, etc., etc.
I hear you, and I don't disagree with you. I just don't know right now, whether you like it or not, we're in this situation. So what do we do?
I just told you what we do.
We go through all of the people that are in detention, plus all the people coming into the border, and try to vet them all. And so they need more people down there to do that.
No, all you do is lower the bar for who gets in and who doesn't. So if you lowered the bar to, do you have the equivalent of the felony? No. Do you have a host family? Great. You cut that number in half. Now you're getting somewhere. Now you don't have overcrowding.
Can you think of anything else other than a felony that would deter us from bringing somebody in?
No, because I don't operate from the perspective of fear. All this is fear. And fear leads people to react in ways that are hateful. So for example, like I said, the person that is most responsible for the majority of killing in the United States is a white male with a gun. But I'm not gonna go for legislation if we wanna completely make America safe, right? The easiest thing we could do is get all the white males with guns and take the guns away from them. Nobody's saying that because we know that type of fear is not the way to run a country. So all I'm saying is the same rule that we're applying to white males and guns is the same rule we should apply to Mexican people. That's all.
Well, I wouldn't even go that far. I mean, it depends on where you are in this country as to where, who's holding the gun. But my point is that, going back to my point, is that we have to find a solution, but we have to do it within the laws that we have and change them if we need to. And that doesn't happen right away. So what do we do right now? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay.
Simply, you know what I mean? Okay.
Thank you very much, Becky.
Thank you. Bye.
Cool. There is what's his name? Wrong. Black on black crime is the highest it's ever been. What does that have to do with the fact that in America the person, this is the FBI, it's not me, bruh. The most dangerous human being in America is currently a white male. What does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with black on black crime? I think we got Dan in the house. Actually, we don't, because Sori's phone just died. Give me a second. Hey, what's up, BM fan? BM fan, actually, call me up. You don't have to talk about Antifa, but talk to me about a libertarian argument for open borders. Give me a second. Hey, BM fan, call me back, bruh. while the once in real need border motivated harmful people will find a way in. Motivated harmful people will always find a way in, Kai. I don't operate. I can't. You can't run a country from fear. No, Dan's fine. He's gonna call in, no problem. But I just want to see what BM Fan has to say, because I know he sent me a bunch of articles on that, and I thank you for that. Cato Institute, Open Borders. By the way, James Goins, I got your email too about vaccinations. Thank you for sending them to me the day after I vaccinated my kid. Skype is updating 1 sec. Dan Pogmore, I'm gonna bring you in for sure. I am gonna bring you in, bro. Just I just want to hear BM Fan's take. Shooting. What about shooting? MDef fan. America, take care of your own first, you hypocrite. First, take the plant out of your eye, then you can take care of the thing in your brother's eye. Yeah, I overshadow Sean. I don't think that that's talking about charity. That's talking about sin. And I don't know how much work you've done with the homeless community, but there are tons of things that we can do for the homeless. That unfortunately many of our homeless don't take advantage of. Now I've, Sori and I have devoted, and there's nothing special about us, but we've devoted our life, for slices of our lives, to the homeless and the disenfranchised in our community, and many of them did not want to take advantage of the opportunities that we gave them. And all I'm saying is, let's give our neighbors those opportunities and see what they do with them. Why do you think the immigrants would be any different? The reason I think the immigrants would be different is because, congratulations, Zork. Shout out to the big homie Zork. We should really make that Vingo thing actually mean something. Why do you think the immigrants would be different? Because I'm an immigrant, number one. I think immigrants have a different type of hunger. They don't have the sense of entitlement that a lot of Americans have. As I said, if you've never lived outside of America, you have no idea what desperation is. That's why the homeless folks that I know personally, where I could set them up to get job tracked and get an actual job that pays way more than minimum wage, have decided, nah, I'm going to stay here. They don't have hunger and desperation because we're so rich as a nation that our poor people live like kings. And again, I'm saying it as someone who lived in a homeless shelter the entire winter of the 8th grade in Parsippany, New Jersey. So I'm not speaking as somebody who doesn't know what he's talking about. I spent Christmas and New Year's in a homeless shelter with my mom and 3 brothers. Homeless, 1 room, no space with my brothers, if you heard the song. We don't have desperation, and people across the border do. So that's why I said they'd be different. Here's Chris Schilling. Not facts, Vin. You think the most dangerous man with a gun is white. You're wrong. The FBI shows that black man is more scary with a gun than white guys. I'm the right wing in America. I don't hate. Chris, you're saying exactly what I would expect from the right wing in America. I'm not even mad at you, bruh. The next time we have an active shooter situation, I'm going to go ahead and guess who's doing it. And again, the point isn't to demonize white men. My point is, nobody's saying we need to have a moratorium on white men and take guns away from them. And how are we going to protect ourselves from white men? Nobody does that. So the same decorum that is used for white folks, I think, should get extended to Mexican people. That's all I was saying. No response on Skype, Vin. Hold on. That might be because this phone doesn't have Skype on it. That could be it. Let me download it from the App Store. Hold on, let me download it for you. Are we really gonna say that that white folks aren't doing the most killing in the country? Now, I know there's a big reason that white folks are doing the most killing is because you guys make up the majority of the country. Not true. I am calling for a moratorium on white men. If they want to be white, they can wait 20 years. Right. Where's the moratorium on white dudes with guns? I'd like to know. I'd like to know where the moratorium is for white dudes with guns. Good God. Yes, Kai, I don't think that people are necessarily racist. I think they're just full of fear. Fear is the big sin, not racism. So, all right, M-Death fan, I'm calling you, brother. M-Death fan is going to give us a libertarian solution for this border stuff. I mean, BM fan, sorry. We all know M-Death fan's solution for it.
I was like, what?
Yeah. We know M-Death fan's solution.
Isn't M-Death a libertarian?
Yeah. Well, that's what he claims, but if he
claims to be a libertarian, but he isn't open borders, so he's not a real libertarian.
Saddam.
He should be in favor of that, the free flow of trade and workers.
Right, M-Death fan. Don't you believe in bodily autonomy, M-Death fan?
Yeah, it's free trade. That's like the whole libertarian thing. It's pro-capitalism.
Hey, I'm not pro-capitalist, but yeah, whatever. Just keep throwing it at him.
That's the thing. Like, so what I'm talking about here is generally like a kind of, a political ideology that I personally do not support. Like, I don't really like capitalism. But at the same time, like, this is a pretty, like, libertarians, or at least right libertarians and classical liberalism, is like a pretty decently big kind of thing right now in America. And you hear a lot of people identifying as libertarians, but a lot of them don't seem to really understand what libertarian actually, like, is supposed to mean, which would be that free trade and open borders.
Yeah.
Whereas, once again, personally, I identify as a socialist or something along those lines.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. So, what's your take on the border? Are you an open borders guy or no?
Honestly, I think the best course of action is, like earlier, like I mentioned with the public defender situation, like there just needs to be more manpower. On the other hand, though, like waiting 10 years to legally immigrate, like actually it's more than 10 years, and also costs significant amounts of money because you also need a lot of legal paperwork to do it. Mm-hmm. It's absurd. Like, there are reports of, like, I think it was this one journalist or something. He's like, hey, I just got this letter in saying that, like, my grandfather can come to the country, except he died 13 years ago. Like,
yeah, brutal.
Brutal. So it's there's obviously a problem there. And the main thing is obviously you have all the detention centers or concentration camps, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Like, obviously, like, there needs to be more manpower. Like the situation with the public defenders, where you have these people who are supposed to be doing these pretty heavy-duty cases in some cases, and they have like 2 hours to prepare for it before it goes to trial. Yeah. And it's just nonstop, and they burn out. They can't handle it. They can't give a proper defense. They can't really do anything, And this is something that's supposed to be guaranteed in the Constitution.
Well, to anybody that's actually ever been in a court situation, it's extremely daunting. And add to that the fact that you barely know the language, and you haven't had time to prepare. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's absolutely horrible.
Yeah, that's basically my what my really basic argument would be. Like, I would like to. I'm not super pro open borders because I can understand that to a degree. Obviously, I I personally don't like countries, honestly. But I don't see like us just getting rid of countries. Like, I'm not actually a revolutionary. I'm very much a reformist.
Okay.
So like for instance, like the Democratic Socialists of America, they don't just want, hey, let's just immediately go into socialism or whatever. Ultimately, that's kind of where they want to go. Mm-hmm. But to get there, we need to get a social democracy first. Mm-hmm. So I'm very much about reform.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Very succinct. M. Deathman in the house. Thank you very much, sir.
Oh, one more thing.
Yep.
So last time I called in, you asked me for a song.
Yes.
Panopticon.
Panopticon. By who?
The band is Panopticon.
Okay. And
the song is Black Soot and Red Blood.
Good God. All right. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate you.
All right. No worries.
Cool.
There we
go. Pogmore, you can call me back, mate. And yeah, I'm getting text. Zork one Vingo. I see that. Is Pony here? They killed Santa? Who's Santa? It was probably those Mexicans that did it, Leah. Killed Santa. What's up?
Hey, homie, what's going on?
What's up?
Okay, so with the questions on, like, the open borders and stuff like that, do you really think that's going to go down well? I mean, looking at America's history, even with its domestic issues and people coming back from wars and stuff ending up on the street, like there's some like 5 million American bloody ex-military people living on the damn street. Like, I mean, you just can't solve that issue. How do you think flooding in, letting another, say, 5 million Mexicans come in, how are you going to deal with that if you can't deal with even your own that are being out and put their lives on the line to defend that country? How is that going to work?
Why are they on the street?
Well, I mean, obviously there's issues and stuff. After coming back from war would be a lot to do with it, PTSD and mental illness and things of that sort.
Okay.
How
many veterans are homeless? Do you know?
Hang on, I'll give you the exact number.
I'm on the National Coalition for Homeless Veterans right now. 40,056.
Yep, 40,056 homeless veterans. Yeah. Okay. Oh, wait, no, that was in January 2017, so no.
So it's probably, it could be lower than that.
It could be lower, it could be higher. I would say it'd be higher, but yeah.
I mean, how can you say that? The last count we've had...
there's been more war since then, bro, so...
2017?
Uh-huh.
We haven't had any major conflicts since 2017. What are you talking about?
What, there's still no Americans in the Middle East? What are you talking about?
No, what I'm saying is, you were saying, I hear this a lot. And by the way, if you go to their actual website, since 2009, the number of veterans experiencing homelessness has dropped by 48.4%. So it's going down. That's a trajectory.
Well, that's great, but I mean, there's still 40,000 homeless vets on the bloody street. Like,
actually, this is on a single night in January 2018. So this is the most updated number, 37,878. So it's consistently going down.
Well, that's good. Like, yep. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. Like, that's great.
So it looks like we're doing okay. Looks like we're doing a good job on that front.
Good. But the thing I'm saying is, how are you going to figure out like an immediate solution for such a vast problem?
We don't need.
So if it's taking you, hang on a second. If it's taking you 8 years to figure out how to get 10,000 veterans off the street. How long do you think it's going to take to get 5 million people from Mexico in homes?
Well, that's assuming a couple things, right? Number one, it's assuming that the problems that veterans have are the same problems that Mexican people have. That's one. Number two, it's assuming that all 5 million of them, they're all homeless, and that's not true. We've got 30 million quote-unquote undocumented immigrants living in America right now. We have more undocumented immigrants living here than want to get in from the border. So that's easily more than enough for housing for everybody, right?
Well, that's if they have a host family, as you put it before.
Yeah. And so it's very simple to me. I would say, look, if you are an undocumented person, then you have to take in another undocumented family. The government will give you some sort of stipend for 6 to 12 months, and off you go. Doesn't sound like a hard problem to solve at all if we had the will to do it.
But I don't think you do. I think America's, obviously the upper echelon of the government and things like that are more concerned with money than they are with human rights.
Well, that's obvious. That's obvious. But you just asked me a question. I gave you the answer, brother.
Yeah, no. But I'm just trying to get you to be realistic. I mean, do you really think the government's gonna implement? I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I'm for immigration and things like that. However, I think mass immigration's never a good thing. Mass immigration like that, where you just hey, come in, never ends well, man.
I mean, I disagree with you.
Yeah, it never ends well. I mean, look even here, we had 5,000 Sudanese come in, and with the growing pain, we've had this discussion before, but that they were wreaking havoc, man.
You sound pretty comfortable.
I'm comfortable where I am because most of them came into Melbourne. So, but I mean, the Melbourneites aren't too comfortable. The homes are getting invaded and shit. Yeah. But I mean,
Go ahead.
I think that's great. I think that's great if you want to, bring people in. But I don't think you can just open the border. I think that would be a mistake.
I mean, okay.
I think
well, A.O. Tasco, Mr. Tasco is going to ask you, tell us of an example where it hasn't ended well.
Well, I just did.
So Melbourne, Australia is your example.
Well, it's a current one that's going on at the moment. Okay, people are getting stabbed all the time, and yeah, it's.
So all these Sudanese refugees are stabbing these Melbournians. Is that what you're saying is happening?
Melbourne. There's no Oran. We don't use the R, but yeah.
Okay, what can you direct us to show us that it's
okay.
The immigrants doing this?
I will give you a link. Okay.
And secondly, while you're on the line, I have a question for you. White men are heavily overrepresented in child molestation cases in America. What do you think we should do with them?
Cut their balls off and hang them up by their fucking toes.
Do you think it'd be a good idea to just, maybe send half of them back to Europe? That would solve our child molestation problem in America.
Send half of them back to Europe?
Sure.
Well, I mean, they're not all Europeans, man. They're probably third, fourth generation Americans.
Well, maybe we can do like one of those 23andMe tests or whatever, figure out where they come from and send them back. Wouldn't that help the child molestation problem in America?
I doubt it.
It would. Go to FBI.gov and see who's committing all the child molestation. It's heavily represented by white males. It's not even a question.
Yeah, no, I believe it.
Okay. I'm on the Guardian
Okay, I sent you that
now.
link. I sent you the link.
I'm on the Guardian right now. The majority of crimes in Victoria, unsurprisingly, are committed by people born in Australia. The second highest cohort were New Zealanders, which are the fourth largest migrant group in Victoria. However, by pulling out particular offenses, you can highlight certain groups. For example, in charges of riot and affray, people born in Sudan made up 6% of all recorded offenders, compared with 71.5% born in Australia and 5.2% born in New Zealand.
That's because there was only 5,000 of them let in.
Okay, so it seems to me that where are the actual hard cases from your government that are saying?
I just gave you a link.
There were 391,153 recorded criminal incidents in the 12 months of September 2017, coming down from a peak in 2016. That's a decrease of 4.8% over the past 12 months, but an increase of 16.3% over the past year. Crime has fallen by young people by between 2007 and 2008 to 40% in 2016. So what's your source for the other one, bro?
I just sent it to you through Facebook.
Okay. Let me check out the Facebook one. So you don't think we should send child molesting white men to Europe? You don't think we should just do like a broad sweep?
Well, I mean, you could send them back to Europe. It would be better to relieve them of their manhood and set an example.
Yeah, but don't you believe in preventative measures? I mean, isn't your...
I'm pretty sure castrating someone in an open forum is pretty preventative.
Hold on for a second. That's a deterrent? Preventative would be to stop it before it happens, right? Which is the argument you're making for immigration, and these people are going to spike up our crime rate, so let's stop it before it happens by not letting them come in. Isn't that the argument?
Well, no. What I'm trying to say is that let them in, but you don't want to, like, completely flood, like, inundate, you know what I mean? So, let them in, yeah, definitely. Like, our immigration here, it's relatively tough, where, to the point where the way to get in is to go through New Zealand. So, New Zealand has a...
Let me read this. The CSA told a federal parliamentary inquiry on migrant settlement outcomes that about 1.5% of criminal offenders in Victoria were Sudanese.
Yes, as I said,
so
there's
this is a problem?
5 million people living in Melbourne.
98.5% of the crimes are from non-Sudanese people, and this is your proof that immigration is a bad thing.
Okay, so you're twisting it up, right? What I said was they let in 5,000 people, okay? Out of those 5,000 people, right, there is 3 or 4 million people living in Melbourne, right? 1.5% of that is made up, out of those 5 million people in the crime rates, 1.5% of that is made up by Sudanese. So the numbers you're making it sound like I'm trying to make out being racist and whatever. I'm not. I'm saying that since they came in, the home invasions and shit like that, it's gone up since they came in, okay? I'm not trying to be a racist douchebag.
My brother,
immigration. Let me finish what I'm saying, okay? No, stop. Right?
I didn't call you a racist. I didn't say that in this particular call. What I said
I'm saying, data. Right?
You're blaming the Sudanese for the spike in crime. Wasn't that what you said?
I'm not blaming them for anything, man. I'm saying they came in and wreaked havoc. Okay. They fucking did. Okay? That's a fact.
Okay. They wreaked havoc by accounting for 1.5% of the criminal offenders in that area.
Okay, do the math. 1.5% in the criminal offenders when there's 5,000 of them and it's their youth. In fact, it's probably more like 2,000 what would be males under 25.
No, my brother.
Right?
No, my brother. Let me read it to you again. It's not 1.5% of their community. It's 1.5% of Victoria, which is millions of people.
That's what I said. I said there's 4 or 5 million people in the fucking...
1.5% of the crime. Why are you characterizing them as raising hell when they're not... They don't account for 98.5% of the crime there?
It was a fucking example, man. It wasn't...
Can you answer my question?
Ask the question again.
I'm going to ask the question again. You said that ever since those Sudanese came over, they've been raising hell. And then when I asked you for the documentation, it turns out that they're only committing 1.5% of the crime.
So what's the question?
In the area. So how in the world is that an example of them raising hell in your community?
Okay, so you're not gonna listen to my view on it. So let's move away from that for a second, right?
No. Answer the question, please.
Okay, so the way I was trying to use that as an example was stating that by letting so many of them in at once, right, all in a big, like, trying to help them out and stuff like that, because there was bombs and shit going off, and, you know, we're trying to get them out, and they were refugees, right? 5,000 of them came into Victoria, and instantaneously there's this gang called Apex that are running in, doing smash and grabs at bloody, you know, the Apple shops and stuff like that, and, you know, doing home invasions and things like that. I was using it as an example, okay? There's only 5,000 of them, right? Only, 2,000 of them are going to be young males that are going to be proponent to violence and doing things like that, correct? So, when you let 5 million people in, what do you think's going to happen?
My brother, we're talking about percentages. You didn't answer my question at all. Let me ask it again. How is 1.5% of violent crime in your area indicative of the idea that these immigrants are raising hell in that area? Answer that question.
It's an example,
please.
bro.
No.
It's an example.
You gave an example. Answer that question, please. How is the 1.5% indicative of these immigrants are raising hell?
Because 1.5% in the realm of 5 million is massive.
Okay. All right. So
right?
I completely disagree with you, but I mean, you can let it stand on the record. I'll go with those
fine,
numbers.
Right? I was trying to frame it as, yeah, well, look, if you look at how many people live in Victoria, right?
I'll be safer with the Sudanese than with the white dudes at the theater in America, I'll tell you that. Statistically. It's true. What? And you know what's curious to me? Why don't you talk about the 98.5% of native-born and New Zealanders who are committing all those crimes?
Because you're talking about immigration.
Yeah, likely story. Go ahead.
Oh, fuck off! Right? You said.
It's my show.
Okay.
It's my show.
No, but you're full of shit, man. Like, come on.
It's strange to me. It's strange to me. It's strange. It happens in America, and apparently it happens on Australia. You got white men who are going around doing all this active shooter stuff. Nobody's talking about getting rid of white men in our country. And then you got people from Melbourne.
I'm not saying getting rid of anyone, man. I'm saying let them in.
Let me finish. Actually, Americans are talking about getting rid of 30 million someone's, actually. Americans are talking about. I don't know what they're talking about in your country. And then you've got a situation where 98.5% of people are committing crimes. No, and then you've got another people as 1.5%. You're like, oh, those are the people that are the problem. It never ends well. Look, Vin, there's a 1.5% crime increase. Never mind the 98.5%. That's what you're telling me. I just think.
You there? Sorry, no, I was waiting. Yep.
I don't think that those guys are the problem.
No, and look, the thing I'm trying to frame for you here is not the fact that I'm not going on about the Sudanese being a big issue, right? What I'm trying to say is that when you let that amount of people in, it's going to come with some serious issues, okay? So all I'm saying is I think there needs to be some sort of way to let them in, but not just go, okay, all 5 million of you come in, open arms. You know, I think that's silly.
Yeah, I understand that you think it's silly. I mean, there are lots of solutions to the crime. If crime is your fear, just deport all the criminals, the 98.5%. Just get rid of them.
Yeah, and look, as the Ranger says, the Sudanese offender rate is 6 times higher than our population, right? Which is correct. And 1.5% of
if you're worried about crime, Dan, just deport the 98.5% or put them in jail or send them to America. Trump won't. I guarantee you, Trump won't have a problem with Australia.
So you're forgetting how Australia came into being anyway. We're a fucking penal colony, right?
Right.
So why would we be kicking anyone out?
Yeah,
but
I agree. I think it's strange to me is anytime you deal with human beings, you're going to have the danger of crime, and my thing is, look, if crime is the reason that we're worried about bringing these people in, then we've got the statistics. We know who's committing the most crime in a given area. Get rid of those people if crime is a concern.
Okay, so at what point did I say get rid of the Sudanese?
Dan, you talked about the whole context of the Sudanese was you saying we should take preventative measures to stymie immigration because you were concerned about crime. Did I misinterpret you?
No.
Okay.
I'm saying you need to take.
That's the answer.
Yeah, I'm saying, look, I'm all for, the melting pot, as Becky put it before, right?
Well,
I'm all about that.
You're not really.
But
I am for the melting pot.
But if you don't vet, look, I understand as a Christian man and whatever, you're all for, yeah, come on then, let's go, come here, come sit at my table, have dinner, and stuff like that. Now, that's fine. But you have to be, I think you need to be careful with that. I mean, there's a lot of bad people, man. If you don't vet any of them...
Tasco has a question for you. In NZ, an Australian just committed 100% of the mass shootings in the past decades. We should ban Australians.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, but you see his argument, right?
Yeah, I didn't say to ban anyone, man. Like, I don't understand. Like, where did I say ban people?
You said we shouldn't let them in. So should NZ not let Australians in because 100% of the active shooter situations came from white Australians?
Okay, no.
It's a yes or no question.
I said go right ahead. Do what you want to do. No, you're taking shit the way you want to take it. You're seeing shit the way you want to see it.
It's not the way I want to take it. I think I'm being pretty consistent with what you're saying. Let me summarize once again what you're saying, and then you can tell me where I'm misrepresenting.
Mate, I'm not a fucking idiot, right? I can understand what you're saying.
So what?
Right?
So what am I twist? Okay, so what of your words am I twisting then?
Did I say you're twisting words? I said it's the way you're framing it.
Okay, tell me how I'm misframing what you're saying, and please answer the question about Australia. Should NZ prevent all white Aussie males from coming to NZ? Do you think that's a good policy?
And I would counter that with there's more New Zealanders living in Australia than there is in fucking New Zealand.
Yeah, but the problem is no New Zealanders...
Shut the fuck up.
No New Zealanders have done any active shooting, right? 100% of the active shooting situations that happened in New Zealand came at the hands of white Australian men. So, that being the case, right? Do you believe that NZ... Would it be rational and logical and good for NZ to say we're going to stymie all white male Australians?
Fine, they're welcome to, because we don't want to live there anyway. It's too fucking cold.
Okay, all right.
Like,
unbelievable.
They can go right ahead, man. So look, I called in to say you need to be careful about how many is let in at once. Like, good, let people in. They're obviously having a lot of trouble down there. Human rights are a thing. That's fine, right? Bring them in. Yeah. I didn't say don't bring them in. I said you need to be careful about how many you let in at a time.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
I know.
So you can frame it and make me look however the fuck you want.
Nobody's making you look anyway, bro. What are you talking about? I let you have your time to speak. I just disagree with you. Why do you get so emotional every time I disagree with you?
Go ahead, disagree. Look, because you always...
Why do you always get so emotional every time I disagree with you? I probably chose
the wrong example.
Huh?
I probably chose the wrong example,
you
right?
Did.
But whatever. Well, mate, to be honest, I don't care. Look, the point got across.
That's obvious.
Enjoyed the call. Enjoy. See you later.
Love you, buddy. Unbelievable. Look, everybody gets a chance to speak. I'm not always going to agree with you. If you say that these Sudanese people are raising hell and then they account for 1.5% of your crime, then I don't believe that crime is really the issue with you. That's just my perspective on it. If 98.5% of the criminals are of a certain ethnicity, then you would figure that if crime was the issue, then you'd want to deal with those things. I don't see anybody saying we need to have a moratorium on white men in America. They're committing the vast majority of molestation cases. They're still to this moment profiled by the FBI. You know, the FBI does racial profiling of white men in parks for kids. I know that for a fact. So nobody's saying we need to get rid of those people. So all I'm saying is everybody's a sinner. Vin believes in original sin. And if original sin is real, then everybody that you know is gonna have some propensity for crime. And I think it's silly to veil the concern about immigration in regard to crime. I think that's silly. Because if it was about crime, then we would be taking a lot more stringent measures on other issues. I did get the bear. Thank you very much, sir. What's up, Matthew Winter?
So, let me try this real quick. Do you understand how per capita works?
Sure, I do.
Okay, so there's 5 million peeps total, right?
Yeah.
5,000 of those are the Sudanese. That's like 0.1%.
Yep.
But out of 0.1%, 1.5% of their crime is this 0.1% of the population.
Yep. And here's my response to that. If crime
that's 150 times more than the 0.1% that they make of the population.
If crime is the concern, right? If crime is the concern, right? Wouldn't you get rid of the people that are committing the most crimes in your area?
No.
Okay, so then crime isn't the main concern then.
But had those people been screened and been looked at and been vetted correctly, would the percentage be the same?
Should we vet all white men in America? Because you guys are the ones doing all the active shooting and all the child molestation in America. Should we vet all of you?
We're specifically talking about immigration laws. We're here already. We shouldn't vet.
Hold on.
Sure. Let's vet the people who are already here too. Then.
No.
If that's what you want, if you want consistency, let's vet everybody.
Let me understand this properly.
I'm okay with that.
So what you're saying is you're good with a moratorium on guns. So we should take away your guns until we can figure out that you're not going to be an active shooter. You're good with that.
But how do we know that? I'm
just asking you a question. Are you good with that or no? We should restrict your free access because we don't want you around a certain park because we don't know that you're not going to be a child molester. You guys are completely overrepresented in child molestation cases. So are you good with us banning all white men from parks? To take preventative measures to prevent that from happening to people?
I agree that it's a complicated issue.
No. I'm asking you a yes or no question. I asked you 2 yes or no questions. I haven't got an answer yet. Are you good with both of those scenarios?
I don't know that those are yes or no situations.
Okay. And that's exactly my point. You're very clear when it comes to immigrants, but when it comes to white men, it's a little bit more complicated than that.
Because you're dealing with people that are already citizens and therefore already have rights versus people who aren't yet citizens.
So because they're not citizens, they don't have rights so that we can treat them however we like.
Under laws and under our jurisdiction, no.
And you think that you do realize that we have laws the same way about abortion, right? A kid doesn't have, is that a good law? Is that a good law that a kid doesn't have the right to be alive in the womb in America? Mr. Winter?
What? Of course they do.
Is it a good law that kids don't have rights in the womb in America?
So the difference is kids don't have their own voice. They haven't done anything yet. They can't be investigated or vetted. They haven't lived yet, and it should be the job of the mother or the father to try and preserve the existence.
You're missing my point.
So it can live.
You're missing my point. You made.
No, I'm not missing your point. Then you're missing your point. These people have lived a life.
Winter,
you can examine their life and see who they are. That's a false equivalence.
Calm down and tell me what my point was. Why did I bring up abortion?
You're doing what you always do. When you fail to make one point, you jump to something else that is kind of sort of related. It's a false equivalence, and I'm not doing that game.
That's fine. Just tell me why I made the point, though. Tell me what the point of the abortion analogy was.
The point of the abortion analogy is that you know very well my beliefs on that, and the rights of the unborn as human beings and all of that. Therefore, the immigrants have human rights too. I understand it.
Right. So you're being inconsistent by appealing to our standing laws, which violate their human rights, while at the same time decrying the same state, United States, that denies human rights to the unborn. So
I'm not, I'm not, because I qualified and quantified that for you.
No, you didn't.
We're talking about someone that doesn't have a life record you can examine yet, which is an unborn person, versus an immigrant whose life you can look at and say, okay, you've done these things, you're out.
Where do you believe human rights come from?
Well, they're God-given, of course, but God is also a God of justice.
Okay, so Matthew, seeing as how you're a Christian, Dan's not a Christian, but you say that you are, right? Show me in the Bible where there's a distinction between an immigrant and a baby in the womb as far as rights go.
Well, actually, if you look at the rights of sojourners and whatnot, biblically, they actually had less rights than what that of an unborn would have. So, if you want to go there,
what was the immigration policy in the Old Testament?
Remind me.
Do you have a biblical immigration policy?
I don't know. I haven't examined it that way.
Can you locate your immigration policy in the Bible? Because, I mean, you're a Christian. That should form your worldview. America shouldn't form your worldview, right?
Right, but the Bible also tells us that God appoints, our leaders and all of that stuff.
Yep. And you know very well that we are supposed to disobey unjust laws, right?
Sure, of course. I do it every day.
Okay, very good. So I'm going to read you what the Bible actually says about foreigners, and then you can do what you want with it. Here's Deuteronomy 10:19. Actually, this is actually a little more. For the Lord your God is God of gods and Lord of lords, the great, the mighty, and awesome God, showing no partiality and accepting no bribe. He executes justice for the fatherless and the widow, and he loves the foreigner, giving him food and clothing. So you must also love the foreigner, since you yourselves are foreigners in the land of Egypt. So is putting a foreigner in a cage and separating them from their family, is that your example of love? Here's Leviticus 19:34. You must treat the foreigner living among you as native born and love him as yourself, for you are foreigners in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Do not despise an Edomite.
The foreigners living among you. These are people not yet living among us.
How did the foreigner get there? Was there a wall? Was there a line? Was there a vetting center that the foreigner had to go through?
A lot of these so-called foreigners were already there.
Can you answer the question?
I did. Most of them were there already.
How did foreigners enter into the land? They had to travel there. Isn't that true?
Right, but in the case of the Jews, the people that these laws were written to and for, most of these foreigners were already there, and it was actually the Jews who showed up and inhabited that land.
It's completely untrue. They were not even.
Oh, really?
They were not even in the land when this law was given to them.
That's true. They were in the desert. They hadn't yet arrived at their land.
Sadak. So what are you talking about?
So then when they did get a land, they showed up where these people were already at.
No. The people of Israel established their land, and then God gave them rules as to how they were to treat the sojourner and the foreigner. Those are people that were not native-born Israelites that migrated into Israel, right?
But let's blow out the context a little bit and go big picture. And talk about, safety and taking care of our own and all of that stuff, which we're also called to do. And as men of God and as husbands and as fathers, that's our first duty.
Well, wait a second.
Is to our own.
Hold on. You said our own. Let me read this to you again because you might not have heard it. You must treat the foreigner living among you as native born and love him as yourself. So when I'm loving the Mexican, I am loving my own.
We're reading that differently.
So love him as yourself and treat him as native born. That says to you that we are us and they are them. That's how you're interpreting Leviticus 19:34.
No. But when you're dealing with the Old Testament, you are dealing with something that was written in Hebrew, which is a poetic, figurative language.
That's ridiculous.
And you are trying to apply it literally.
That's ridiculous.
It is not ridiculous. It's true.
Tell me what the Hebrew word for foreigner is right now, since you're such a scholar in Hebrew. You don't even know. You don't even know. You're just making stuff up.
No, I don't know, but this is something.
This is
something I've heard and I've read my whole life. It's a figurative, poetic language.
No, it's not.
Oh, they named people words that sounded like other things.
Name me one scholar that says what you're saying about Leviticus 19:34.
That ancient Hebrew is a figurative language, not a literal language. It's all over.
Name me one scholar that has your interpretation of Leviticus 19:34, Matthew.
I don't know with that specific thing. I'm blowing it out. Big picture here.
No, you're blowing it out American picture because you have an American foreign policy and not a biblical one. That's obvious.
Okay, and
that's clear.
That's probably correct.
It's absolutely correct.
If I'm wrong, so be it.
You're
and let God correct me.
Wrong.
But
you're 100% wrong for sure.
Okay, maybe you're wrong.
Well,
you're not always right all the time, Ben.
I've been wrong trillions of times. Just show me from the Bible where it says that the foreigner is an other. You said take care of our own. I just read you Leviticus 19:34. They are our own.
What about the foreigners that God had them kill to establish their land? What about those foreigners?
Matthew Winter, can you please deal with that passage? It says, treat them as native born and love him as yourself.
Sure. That is what it says.
So then how can you justify... Hold on. So then how can you justify...
If we were perfect, godlike people, that is how things would work. But that's not the world we live in.
Okay, as a Christian...
We are sinful, fallen individuals.
My brother...
Who live in a world full of brokenness, full of broken people that we need to protect ourselves against.
Okay, so you're just operating from complete and total fear. You're not going to follow the Bible because you're afraid of people harming you and your family.
I'm not afraid. I don't even fear God as much as I should, and that's a problem.
No, well, that is the problem. That's why you fear these people. When you talk about having to protect, that means you feel threatened, right? Isn't that what you just said? So that you're speaking from a position of fear. You're not speaking from a biblical perspective. And my brother, I just want to remind you.
Don't do the word thing.
I just want to remind you, this is the Old Testament. We're in the New
Sure.
Testament. We should be more
That's
gracious.
that's the Old Testament, which was
hold on.
and the law of Moses, which was written to the Jews for the Jews.
Right, and here's my point.
It doesn't apply to us.
Matthew, we should live at a higher standard than what they had in the Old Testament. You've got a sub-Old Testament immigration policy. Doesn't that bother you? You have an immigration policy that's less merciful and less loving than the Old Testament.
It's a good thing I'm not God then, isn't it?
Well, I mean, my brother, I think that I don't know what your belief is, but my belief is that as Christians we ought to spread the love of Christ to the world, and that we ought to live in such a way that worldly people say, "Hey, why do you do that?" Nobody's ever going to ask you why you do that when you're talking about fear and protecting your family from those people and taking care of our own. Nobody's going to. There's nothing supernatural about that statement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
So you believe the biblical policy is that no matter who someone is or what they've done, they should just come into the country and, whatever happens.
My brother, the text says you must treat the foreigner living among you as native born. If a person has a felony in the United States of America, what happens to them? They go to prison.
Right.
So what I said earlier was we will treat the foreigner as the native born. If you've got a felony, you're out. Just like with the native born. That fits perfectly fine with Leviticus 19:34. But what does not fit with Leviticus 19:34 is this idea of us and we have to protect our own and them and they need to mind their own business. That's not biblical. That's not biblical.
So you don't actually want fully open borders.
I mean,
you really don't.
I don't
because
know
the people who say this don't want any kind of vetting at all. They want people to just be able to run across the border, and we'll sort out what they've done later after they've probably done it again and it's too late.
Oh, by the way, Overshadow Sean just posted another one of my favorite passages. By the way, this is just anybody Bible Bash people. I would love to have the biblical immigration discussion in a Bible Bash. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't make those decisions.
I'll study it out.
But look what Overshadow Sean posted. When you reap the harvest of your land, do not reap to the very edges of your field or gather the gleanings of your harvest. Leave them for the poor and for the foreigner residing among you. You know what that means? That means a foreigner, not only could they trespass into your country, but they could also trespass onto your land and take your product. That's in Leviticus.
True. No, that's true.
Yeah. But you don't even want these people in your country.
It's complicated.
Yeah. Look, I get it. I understand.
I'm not black and white on this. And you should be black and white because God's black and white, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
I'll get there.
No, and I love the back and forth. And for people that don't know, M-Def fan. I love M-Def fan too. But Matthew Winter's my brother. We're brothers. I'm down for him. If somebody, he's my guy.
I'm a passionate guy, and as you know, it kind of gets the best of me sometimes.
He's alpha male. I'm alpha male. It's our love language. We're good with each other. This is how we talk, right? If I saw him, I'd give a big hug. I'd probably kiss him to make him very uncomfortable. So him and I are good, but look, I understand that even among Christians, I'm in the minority on my immigration policy. I get it. I understand that. I understand that. Even among Democrats, which I don't consider myself a Democrat, but even BM fan is not an open borders guy, and he's left as fucking Lucifer. You know what I mean? So I get it.
I don't know if anyone's that left.
I understand what you're saying. Like I agree. I get it. I understand it from the human level. I get it. I'm just saying, like, and I don't think America. It's going to take a long time for America to adopt my border policy.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't even know if we ever will. But I hear you.
Oh God.
Give me just a second. I was talking with the wife there. Okay.
No, I'm just saying. So, Vin, I can come to your land and take as I see fit. Well, it was only the edges of the land, but yeah, I mean, if I had a farm, I would not farm my entire land because the Bible says to leave it for the poor and the immigrant, which assumes that the immigrant is going to be in your land.
Now, let's go with that for a second, and obviously that's correct. That's the biblical standard. However, things are said the way they are for a reason. Do you not believe that the poor comes in the passage first before the foreigner for a reason, and that maybe we should take care of the poor first and fix that problem first before we deal with the foreigner issues?
No, because like for example, in Acts, when in Acts 2, where Peter says God has made this Jesus both Lord and Christ, does that mean there's some giant gap between Lord and Christ? No, it's a simultaneous issue. The category
he was Lord first before he was ever Christ's Savior physically. He was Lord.
No, he was the anointed one, and the scripture says that he was the lamb slain before the foundation of the earth, right?
Sure.
So God
but I also believe that in the New Testament, when it says grace and truth, that grace is put first for a reason. Yeah, because you need to have grace before you have truth.
I mean, the Bible doesn't say that.
So if we're applying that same logic backwards.
Yeah, but I'm disagreeing with that logic. Those are simultaneous moments. Jesus is Lord and Christ simultaneously. He was always Lord and he was always Christ. There's no temporal distinction there.
Okay.
If I say President Trump is the president and the commander-in-chief, that's a simultaneous appointment, right?
Sure.
Yeah, so
because those are the same thing.
Right. So when he talks about the poor and the foreigner, those are the same issue. They're marginalized people who are vulnerable, who are dependent on the mercy of their surrounding community. You're not told to pick one or the other ever in the Old Testament. They always go together.
So we're just reading it differently.
No, you're inserting a gap there so that you can continue with your xenophobia. That's all you're doing. You're not reading anything different. And like I said, go ahead and find me any biblical commentator that deals with your distinction.
Okay.
Find me one.
I'll search it up. We'll talk about it.
Okay. All right. Love you, buddy.
Yeah, I love you, man. I'm glad I'm back.
I know. It's good to see you. Everything is going good. How's the marriage going?
Things are good. Marriage is great. I mean, it's always hard starting out, kind of blending our families together, getting the kids working together cohesively. You know what that's like.
Bro, we got to talk offline, man. Good gosh. Yeah. You would not believe the bullshit that I've had to deal with these kids the last couple of days, bro. I got to talk. I've been so I'm like, I gotta talk to somebody. So I'll probably call you up at some point. Seriously, keep your phone. What days are you open?
Thursdays, Sundays after 1 my time, so that's 3, or that's 4 your time. Sundays afternoons, Thursdays pretty much all Thursday.
Okay.
And bits and pieces of other days, but those are the easy days to get a hold of me.
All right.
So.
Well, I'm seriously gonna take you up on that before I jump off a bridge.
Yeah, get a hold of me, man. We can talk fatherhood and marriage and all of that stuff. So
I'll tell you what, man. God almighty. Look, I love them. I obviously love Sori. The blended family thing is the hardest thing. And I've done some pretty ridiculously, insanely difficult stuff in my life. This is by far the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Good God.
Agreed.
Good Lord.
Well, we were never made for this. It's not the way it's designed.
Right. You're right.
So
you're 1,000% right. You're totally right.
All right, buddy. Love you, man. I got to get back to my fam. So
love you.
Bye.
Speaking of fam, I got to get off in the next 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Let's all go to Vin's house and make ourselves at home. This is a free speech zone. I hope nobody got anybody. I hope nobody banned anybody. Vin might want me to call in and finish off the stream with with some crazy hot takes. Yeah. I actually wanted to do immigration in the Bible Bash. There's like 2 or 3 topics I'd like to do, but we only have space for one more, so it's up to you and Ian, I guess. What's up, Q-Star? You're not late to any party. You're not missing much. Yeah, I think I could take one more caller. And check your Facebook Messenger. Okay. Check my Facebook Messenger. Wrong account. I wouldn't ban anyone. I believe in free speech. Zonia, on the other hand. Sure, Seth. Hey, what's up? Yo, you there? Hello? Okay. Who's this? Hey, who's this?
I think I got the wrong number. Is this Vin?
This is Vin. Did you not?
Oh, hey, what's up, man?
Did you not
This is
call me?
Hey, who's this? I'm on the wrong line.
Well, you gotta mute your thingamajiggy.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly now.
All right, who's this?
This is Vin.
Oh, man, you sound totally different.
Do I? In real life?
Yeah, man.
All right, what's up?
All right, couple things. Wanted to talk about consular issues with immigration.
Go for it.
All right, so the State Department, if you're a foreign service officer, you have different career cones. There's management, political, econ, etc. And consular affairs deals with a lot of this immigration stuff.
Okay.
And the difficulty they have with the vetting process, because a lot of people are like, oh, we just need to revamp vetting, but nobody can really articulate what constitutes revamping the vetting process. If you're coming from like a first world nation, to use that term, it's a lot easier because there's comparable documentation. You talked about felonies earlier, right?
Yeah.
So it's easier to research records and determine whether or not this individual does indeed have a felony. If they're coming from like DRC or Liberia or some places, even Kenya, which is a relatively advanced nation, the records are spotty at best, and it's extremely difficult to tack down whether or not there's any actual evidence of a committed crime or whether they're just lying to you. So they have to do interview sessions where they use almost, I don't want to say police-style interviewing techniques, but they have to do something similar, and they have a small window of time with which to accurately guess, for lack of a better word, whether or not this is a legitimate need or whether or not they're being honest.
Does the person have to be trained in interrogation?
Yeah. That's part of the Foreign Service Institute's training program.
Yeah. So just to update everybody, what my solution was, hey, just vet everybody. If they got a felony, you don't let them in. What you're saying is, yeah, Vin, but it's not that simple. It's not like there's a worldwide database of felons. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Okay, no, you're right. That's a good, and you actually know what the hell you're talking about, right? So that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is a Pollyannish plan that's really not going to work in the real world. So what alternatives for a bleeding heart like me would you suggest?
That is one of the greatest difficulties when you think about immigration in depth and you don't just stick to left or right talking points. It's really a convoluted issue. It's extremely difficult, as you've probably seen tonight in some of your discussions. So
yeah,
I think one possible solution is actually, strangely that I'm agreeing with him on this, as BM Fan mentioned, increasing staffing. So try to hire more consular officers so that they have longer interview periods. So where there's not documentation available to research and vet people properly, you can at least have a longer period of discussion with them to determine whether or not they're full of shit or not. And the problem with that, again, is the Foreign Service is an extremely difficult organization to join. It's pretty rigorous in its requirements of the candidates, and very few make it through the selection process. It's like the old military saying you can't mass produce SOF. You can't mass produce consular officers, I don't think. It's a really difficult job. So that was the first thing I want to talk about, was the vetting issues and the difficulty there. The other one would be not to ride this dead horse any harder.
Well,
go ahead. Sorry.
Let's ride the vet train for a second. So, okay. How long? Let's say in your perfect world, we get more of these officers who are basically, special forces equivalent at the border. How long, if we got your magic number, how long would it take for processing in that situation?
It's hard to say without crunching numbers, and I really don't have the hard empirical evidence right in front of me where I could sit down and start typing stuff up, nor do I think you have the patience to deal with that. But it's not so much people at the border. You'll have a lot of immigration coming through consulates and embassies abroad. Yeah. And that's where I'd say that's where the lion's share of immigration actually occurs. I'm not completely up to speed. I've got some folks I know that work in border regions for consular affairs, and they're, as you can imagine, swamped, and they're working really hard. But all I can tell you is that more consular officers, giving them more time to conduct the interview process and the investigation, you're going to have better results. You're going to have more people coming in that are less likely to be a problem.
And how much money would that cost?
Probably not an insignificant amount. I guess if you look at it in the context of like developing the F-35, it probably is an insignificant amount. So I correct myself in that one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If you could do that research and come back to me, I'd like to know.
Yeah. So I'm not a consular officer myself, but I do train a lot of folks. So I could actually talk to one and see if I can find out a little bit more about what specific issues they're having with regards to.
What I would really love is to be able to talk to one of these cats and maybe do an interview about it. That would be boss. Which I know is
I'd have to tiptoe through that, man, because it's a lot of cleared stuff too.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can try. I can't promise anything for sure.
Yeah, I'd like to know, because, like I said in the other videos, I don't know if you saw them or not, I'm not a fan of demonizing these people who work on the
that's
border.
Fair.
Say again?
No, I said that's absolutely, I think, the proper attitude to have.
Yeah, like I said, I've got family and, whatever, and so he I'm like, yo, tell me the straight dope on these guys. He's like, they're top-notch guys, man. So, want to give a shout out to those guys who are doing an extremely difficult job. As you can see over the last 2 hours, there are no simple solutions. And
no, there's just more questions, really.
Yeah, and if you're, can you imagine being one of these folks at the border, whether you're consular or you're ICE or whatever, and you're doing your best to try to love your country and at the same time love your neighbor, and you're caught in the middle of this ridiculous jihad between the left and the right? And I think that their voice, and of course a lot of the stuff they can't talk about, right? So it's tough for them to
well, that's one of the issues with having a consular officer on, is that if they're speaking in a private capacity, they're not necessarily authorized to talk about like political stances. It's kind of like in the military. You can be Republican or Democrat or Libertarian or Independent or whatever you want to be. You just can't talk about it in a public forum. Yeah. And I would imagine that this here constitutes that type of form.
Yeah, I mean, I would just want them to just say, these are what the difficulties are at the ground level. Not really comment much on, I'm voting for this person or that person. But yeah, I mean, if we can make that happen, that would be legit.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do. If not, I'll try to at least jot down some of their key concerns and some of their proposed solutions, just as long as we all understand that's one individual consular officer that's not speaking to the entire career cone or the State Department.
Right.
It's a personal opinion on it.
Right. Yeah. All right,
So
man.
The second thing I want to talk about is the dead horse issue, which was the Sudanese example. So what I would say with that particular one is when you're vetting people, it's a difficult process. So if you have a population group that's evidence to create a six-fold crime compared to your average citizen, it's an elevated risk. I don't know what you'd call it. Immigration population.
Sure, migrant population. Right. I don't care. We all know what we're talking about. Well, go ahead.
Yeah. So now you got to look at the back end of the justification. So say you have, say the Swiss are responsible for 10 times normal crime, right? And you have Kenyans that are responsible for 0.5 average crime. And you bring in 6,000 Swiss immigrants. And a Swiss immigrant murders someone, and then that person goes to the State Department and then complains about, why are you letting this in when you know there's an elevated crime risk? When, if you're going to keep a quota number, why didn't you bring in the Kenyans?
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably rambling through this incoherently.
No, you're not. I'm tracking with you. Go for it. Keep going.
Yeah, so I think I'm probably putting words in his mouth, but the Aussie caller earlier, I think that may have been the point that he was trying to get into, that if you bring in 5,000, maybe not a big concern. If you're bringing in 50,000 at that crime rate into one localized region, now you're looking at a far greater concern.
Well, yeah, that's assuming that those rates are going to maintain at that level.
I mean, absolutely. There's a million variables.
There's a million assumptions that get made in that situation, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so that was the only point that I was making. When you initially hear, oh my gosh, these Sudanese are raising hell, I'm like, oh shit, these guys are, breaking windows and shit and just destroying, just wrecking shop. And yeah, I mean, it's a small group of them that did X, Y, and Z, but apparently there was a riot, and so obviously a lot of violent crime is going to happen in the midst of a riot, and so that could skew numbers. There's a whole bunch of things that happen when you deal with statistics. Go ahead.
Yeah, and to parse those stats even further, it's not even Sudanese people, it's young Sudanese men.
Sadat, right.
So just like if you're talking about violent crime in the U.S., regardless of how you want to break it along religious or ethnic lines, I can almost guarantee you, I could be talking on my ass here, but just going off the cuff, I would say that all of that's caused by young men.
100%. 100%, except for the child molestation stuff. That's more in the 40s. But yeah. No, I'm with you. You get a bunch of young, hot-blooded dudes, they're going to do damage.
Yep. And I just think that the immigration concern is a hugely nuanced thing. I am in favor for the removal of illegal immigrants. This is another tricky point, and that is more personally, just because I've had friends that immigrated, and as BM Fan mentioned earlier, it was a long and very expensive process for someone who was a tier 1 asset in England. And he's pretty pissed off when I talk to him. I actually having drinks with him on Saturday about, if you just hop the border, you can come over free. And he's like, I spent years and hours of paperwork and tons of money to get this done. And I think he shouldn't have had to go through that. There should be a streamlined immigration policy to allow easily vetted people quicker access, which just frees up the system for people that need more time to be investigated.
Yeah.
And and that's just kind of how my stance on it is. If you can get immigration by just hopping the border, what incentive is there to try to follow the legal process?
No, I hear you. I hear you. It's a valid concern.
But again, I wish I had a magical solution. And it seems Facebook is a great thing for me because I have a lot of friends on both sides of the political continuum here. And some people are like, ICE and cops are jackboot thugs, with their boots on the neck of brown people. And then I've got other people that, all immigrants are shitheads and they need to get bounced. And it's like, okay, well, maybe we can look at it in less absolutist terms. but I don't know how to do it. I wish I did. Otherwise, I guess if either of us did, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Well, you did a damn good job, in my opinion, in this call. You're the most rational person, including me, in this entire stream.
Well, so here's another one, right? You seem like a patriotic in a good way kind of guy, and you're also a heavily biblically nuanced person. So I'm wondering how you reconcile the good form of nationalism with the open border biblical stance.
Yeah, I mean, Paul said in Romans chapter 9 that he loves his kinsmen according to the flesh in a particular way, right? And so it is right and good to love your homeland more than you love any other land. Okay, so
right.
So that's number one. It's right and good to do that. It doesn't mean that you don't love other people. In just the same way, I love Sori more than I love any other woman on the planet put together times 10. Doesn't mean I don't love other women in the planet. I do. It's just I don't love anybody the way I love her, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
And so that's how I reconcile it. And the other thing is and this is something where my leftist friends would be upset at me. When an immigrant came in to Israel, they had to conform to all the laws, they had to learn the language, and they had to become Israelites, right? And it actually says you treat them as native born. So this whole thing where, what was it, Beto, whatever his name was, he was doing the debate and he starts talking in Spanish.
So corny.
I'm not a fan of that. It's America, it's English. That's it, right? Like, you're coming here, you have to conform to the American way of life, and you've got to adopt America, right? So I was born in Jamaica, but if there was a draft, if there was a war between Jamaica and America, I would do damage for America because my loyalty is now to America. So that's the other thing I would say is that if you're an immigrant and you're coming in here, great, I love you, come in. Oh, but at the end of the day, you've now crossed into American borders. You need to assimilate to American culture. And I'm not saying that you can't bring your quesadillas and all this stuff and enrich our culture. That's great. But you've got to adhere to the basic standards of what American culture is. You've got to identify as an American. So I don't use the term African American, blah, blah. I don't do that. I'm an American, period.
Awesome.
So that's how I reconcile it, is that I love everybody. And if you want to come in here and join America, great. Then I'll treat you like one of my kinsmen according to the flesh. However, if you're just a visitor, and what I mean by that is you're going to come here, but you're not going to assimilate to America, okay, then you're a visitor. Then you're one of the other countries, and I love you, but you're not an American. Because you're actively choosing not to be an American. But we're still going to hold you to American laws. So that's how I look at it.
The other interesting thing about immigration, right, especially when mass immigration occurs, is that there's a tendency for the creation of community enclaves. And this you can go back to the turn of the century when you had Irish communities and Italian communities on the East Coast, right? And Jewish communities.
Give me 2 seconds, bro. I understand that there might not be a documented official language. I don't care. We all know that English is the official language. Can we stop it, please? With the granular bullshit. We all know that English is that's why people look. I work with foreigners, okay, and they all have to take English classes. You know why? Because in order to compete in the economic world, you have got to be able to deal with Americans, and they speak English. As a matter of fact, I know people not to go really deep here, but I know people where their accentuation is part of their score as far as how well they're going to be paid. So when you go outside of America and you're dealing with America, English is absolutely the language. Come on, y'all. Can we just be realistic here for a second? Come on. Okay, sorry, go back.
Okay, well, all right. So with regards to mass immigration, another frequent concern is what I was talking about before, which is the establishment of immigrant enclaves within communities. And like I said, we saw this in the turn of the century where you had Irish, Italian, and Jewish communities. And you can go back and forth on that. So one, if you're concerned about assimilation, that's oftentimes counter to assimilation, because if you live in a community that's all Italian or all Jewish, you're going to speak your native tongue.
Right.
But you can also look at it like if you are someone who maybe your English as a second language isn't that strong, you're going to feel more comfortable and you're going to be able to communicate more easily with people with a shared experience, a shared orientation, and common background. In the case of Italians, Irish, and Jewish Americans, they did eventually assimilate, although it did lead us to awful Boston fake Irish Americans and New York fake Italians, which are an abomination in the eyes of gods and men. But, oh, I'm Irish. It's like, dude, you've never been there. Shut up. But now this is another thing with immigration that's interesting. Certain cultures from certain regions in the world have different beliefs on integration or assimilation. Some want to integrate and assimilate, and by necessity they're forced into these communities. Other ones would prefer to stay insular. And we see that with some of the Middle Eastern and African nations, where they tend to not want to assimilate because they don't agree with the way the nations run. And that's where you get a lot of the conflict back and forth between Native Americans, there's like 4 left thanks to us, but American citizens and immigrant populations, because they seem to be at a cross purpose.
Yeah, I mean, we've just demonstrated in the last 2 hours that none of this stuff is simple.
I just wish people would realize that instead of typing 20 characters on Twitter and saying, send them all back or let them all in. Okay.
Yeah. And it's a crazy. Even me, right? If I say, I'm for open borders, then when you talk to me, it's like, well, no, I mean, take all the felons. The felons can't come in, and then you come in and you're like, yeah, Vin, there's not like a global database of felons. So how do you solve that problem? I have no idea.
Yeah, and then the whole crossing the border on foot, they're like, oh, they're separating children from their parents. It's like, well, first of all, there may not be any tangible evidence that those are actually family, that they're not, that they are related, right? There may be no empirical evidence supporting that. And what we do have a problem is these, I forget the term for, basically human traffickers.
The cartel guys.
Yeah, that are paid to bring kids over. And like, oh yeah, that's my kid.
Yeah.
And who knows what's going on. I mean, and there's also situations where parents have sent kids with just a sign around their chest across the frickin' desert where they could die, or they'll send daughters across the desert by themselves on birth control because they know they're going to be raped by these cartel trafficking scumbags. Yeah. It's just a colossal nightmare clusterfuck, and demonizing Border Patrol or ICE that are actually the biggest protectors of those people is wrong. And I think people should understand that there's a reason why oftentimes you segregate and isolate what appears families from one another. And a lot of that is to determine whether or not they are in fact family, or if that kid is being smuggled under the threat of abuse or death. You know, if you tell them I'm not your dad, I'll kill you. Yeah. And I'll kill your sister and your family.
I'll kill your parents back home. Yeah. I mean, you know, I had an off the record conversation with my brother and, you know, whatever. And a lot of what you were saying, I mean, it's real stuff. I wish people really realize how complex it was. It really bothers me to see those guys get demonized, so I got to tell you.
Yeah, it's not fair.
Because I've been in situations where people had all these opinions on the news about it. I'm like, you have no fucking clue what you're talking about. It's extremely frustrating, and you got to sit there and be a professional. You know what I'm saying? You got to be a quiet professional and just let people talk shit. They have no idea what they're talking about. Then you got these politicians who are using the immigrants and using these officers, many of whom are Hispanic.
Oh yeah, tons of them are.
Those guys are overrepresented. You want to talk about overrepresentation per capita? Good night. Those guys are represented very well on Border Patrol, and so that I gotta admit that bothers me a lot. A ton.
Yeah, there's this weird assumption that it's all like middle-aged white dudes.
Oh yeah. Please. As a matter of fact, we've got like 2 or 3 border folks in the village, and they're all Hispanic. Like they're all, and they're completely on much closer to the Trump side of it than I am, and they're all Hispanic. So it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's a very, very complex issue for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I'm gonna hop off. Nice talking to you, dude. Hope new baby's doing good. all the other kids as well. And you got, I don't know, do you do like a head count when you leave a restaurant so you don't leave any kids behind, or what's going on?
Yes, I do.
No bullshit, bro.
Yep.
Or if I'm at a park or something like that, remember that time when out with your family? I am constantly doing head count.
1, 2, 3.
It is no joke.
6, 7. You count all the cousins too.
You ever get mad and yell at a kid and use the wrong name?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Johan! Dorian!
Yeah.
Whatever your name is.
And it's tough too because you're trying to be a serious parent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then, you screwed up their name and they're looking at you like you're an idiot.
Yep.
I mean, they're not going to say it. But
you can tell by their eyes.
What can you do? It's like Pelosi when she had to bring all her Democrats back in after she embarrassed herself yesterday. Anyway.
All right, man. Take care. Have a good night.
Much love to you.
Yep, later.
One more thing. Who are you in the chat?
He's like, I'm not
He's
saying.
gone. All right, guys. With that, we're going to close up shop. Thank you to everybody. Much love to Dan Pogmore. That's my guy. If you ever immigrate from Australia, I would not close my door to you. You can come glean on my fields, Mr. Pogmore. And Matthew Winter, obviously, much love to you. Leah, send me that MAGA hat and the MAGA shirt. I will wear it on my next video. I told you that like 7-8 months ago.
He's serious.
I'm dead ass serious. Send it.
She asked me if I wanted a shirt.
P.O.
I was
Box,
like, nope.
P.O. Box 7024. I'm going to walk around base with my MAGA hat and
Lewiston,
shirt.
Maine, 04240.
I wish one of you leftists would. I'm gonna do it. Let's see, BM Fan.
Video.
I'm gonna see BM Fan and his buddies. I guarantee you, nobody's gonna touch me. I guarantee you, BM Fan. None of y'all gonna touch me with my MAGA hat and shirt. Free speech, bitches. All right, guys, I gotta get out of here.
Okay, wait. Can you
hold on? I gotta
pronounce that one.
Sala.
Okay, Sala. If you send me something again, if you can upload it to YouTube or something like that, so I can put. I think her name was Allison. Her video in so. There was no other way to do it, so you'll have to show me another way. Hey, Vin and Sori, Icky Thump by the White Stripes would be a good song to review with the hot topic of immigration on everyone's mind right now. Honey. Thump by the White Stripes. Well, I'll command C that.
I'm looking at these.
And send myself a message.
I'm looking at these names with.
So many names.
These memes with Elmo. Okay. Research credit Zodia. Look at Elmo. He's going into all this.
He's sucking up crack right there.
No, it's the cocaine. That's hilarious. Don't do drugs. Drugs are horrible. But the memes were hilarious. All right. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone. That was funny.